Hey, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it alive through another week.
Hooray!
You know what? Some of the states in the U.S. are opening. I hope are going maskless. I hope it's the same for you guys. I appreciate everybody joining in. We're going to wait for YouTube to let everybody know we are here. We already made $10 and we're just getting started. For those of you guys tuning in, after the live video, we do this every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you miss the opportunity to ask us a question, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, or at the Supplement Engineer. Slide into our DM, and we'd be glad to help you guys out. All right.
Gently slide in. Gently slide. Don't forcefully ram it. Just
gently slide in. Gently slide in and have a safe word. Have a safe word ready, Robert. All right, before we get started, the question of the day is, who's this guy?
Steve, I think we're coming up on a year of doing this now. Do I need to do this every week? I feel like maybe April or May will be 1 year. It hasn't been a full year yet that we've been doing this, but it feels like it's pretty damn close.
Just tell them who you are and where you can be found. You know,
Robert Janetsky, the Supplement Engineer, host of the Supplement Engineer podcast, the Final Scoop podcast, supplementengineer.com, thesupplementengineer@gmail.com, industry writer, formulator, smartass, bourbon enthusiast, coach, and ingredient nerd.
Yeah, we are here every weekend. Yeah, when we initially started, like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? This is Robert Janetsky. So, you guys post up your questions, diet, training, nutrition, supplementation, off topic. Robert is a supplement expert, if there is such a thing in this industry. So if you have a supplement question or a question about a specific product, drop that in the queue. We'd be glad to answer it. If your questions aren't showing up, it is not us. I just got a notification from YouTube that I'm live.
Hey.
If we miss your question, it's not us ignoring you. Post it up again. YouTube can be rather wacky. We're delayed about a minute because I was debating with my wife what vegetables to put in our shepherd's pie this weekend, and I suggested asparagus, and she thought it was the most scandalous thing in the world to combine mashed potatoes and asparagus. I said, you put a little gravy on there, you can really combine mashed potatoes with any veggie. So, Robert, what are your thoughts on mashed potatoes and asparagus?
I love them. I like mashed potatoes. I don't eat mashed potatoes all that frequently just because we don't stock potatoes here in the house. But anytime we're at somebody's house, like next Saturday, we'll be doing a St. Patrick's party at one of our friends down the street from us. And there's going to be all kinds of Irish food there. So I've got to assume there's going to be some kind of mashed potato dish there in addition to like a potato stew, mutton chops, and all the other kind of good stuff. We're going to do an Irish whiskey blind tasting plus a bunch of Irish beers too. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So before we dive into questions, you guys tell us where you're tuning in from. I want to cover a topic. There has been 2021 has really been the year of the return to what used to be considered bro science. Splits. The science is back, showing all things equated over the course of a week that a bro split is as effective, if not more effective, for the average trainee than a full body or frequency training. This isn't saying frequency training is bad. It's still good. But that bro splits are bad. And this week, Robert, we had a study released, which I'm going to touch on maybe tomorrow, showing that regional hypertrophy in a muscle is possible. Did you get a chance to peruse this?
Just a cursory glance. I didn't get to dive into the full thing.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to dive in the actual nuts and bolts of the study, you know, whether it's a single blind, double blind, what the setup was, etc. But you know, back in the day, it was common belief that you could target a muscle differently, you know, with different exercises, different areas, different regions, etc. And you know, when you look at the body as a whole, and I'd like to know what you guys watching have to think about this. You look at the body as a whole, it's very interesting that someone could say squat twice a week and be very acclimated to that after, say, 2 decades. Then if they go out for a 3-mile hike, they can pick up soreness in the muscles that are already strengthened from a squat. So it kind of implies, or whatever word you want to use, that muscle can be targeted differently with different forms of activity. It's highly specific, maybe even regional. You have any thoughts on that, Robert?
Yeah, I mean that kind of goes, what we were talking about. We've talked about it before with when we were discussing leg hypertrophy. Like they had one group that did just squats and another group that did squats, lunges, leg press, and deadlift. And while the hypertrophy was similar between the two groups, there was greater overall better development, a more global hypertrophy around the muscle in the group that did more exercises. So, that this is just serving as further evidence that what the bros have been talking back, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, the golden era bodybuilders have been saying, hey, use different exercises. So we know we can't isolate a single muscle group. So an incline press isn't going to just isolate the clavicular head of the pecs. It's still going to work the sternal head and the lower pec fibers and the pec minor fibers too. But there's greater emphasis placed on those upper clavicular fibers. And so that way, when you're doing like a standard push-up or a standard bench press or something like that, it's going to work more of the sternal fibers or, the middle part of your chest. And so that just, but even though the upper portion is being working there, but it goes back to what we've been saying. A good variety of exercises. You don't need 46 different chest presses in a workout, but 3 to 4 across the week, maybe even 5 is better, going to lead to overall better quality development of the muscle. And you're going to work it and stress it from different angles and different force vectors and those kind of things to improve overall, strengthen the muscle and its appearance.
Now, if you check, I'm not a guy to usually say I told you so. And, I mean, that's not, I mean, I don't do what I do to be right. I do what I do to help people. And if you check the record of this channel, over the years, I've been very critical of using programs like Starting Strength and Strong Lifts and minimal type of programs for hypertrophy for the average beginner. I don't see any value in it. And I would mention that there's, you need more than squats. And it's been scandalous for me to say even squats and leg press. I've been talking about exercise variety, the importance of using more exercises, that full body or frequency training. I've had my anecdotal evidence of working with everybody in the industry and my anecdotal evidence of doing, hundreds, if not 1,000 transformation stories at all. And I tried to stress that the pendulum is going to swing back. Mm-hmm. And I do not like programs, minimal programs. And I'm glad we're swinging back. That's all I'm going to say. Not because I want to say I was right, but I want to say because back to a more centering point that will help the average individual make progress. And that's the important thing. So for those of you on the bandwagon for the minimal type of programs, only squats for legs, frequency training, or you can't grow, that type of bullshit. I hope you will take the science seriously, because most of the experts in 2021, even though they don't always agree on everything, are right there in the same camp. I don't know any experts that are outside of that camp. Do you, Robert?
No, not actual experts. No. People that think they are, they call themselves guru status or whatever the hell they want to classify themselves as, but
everybody I'm watching is basically a few more exercises rather than one. Body part split or pro split is as good as full body, that sort of thing. So we're kind of swinging back. So enough about that.
Sandy and I on our live yesterday, we actually had the same question said, hey, can you re-go over the bro split and versus frequency training? And so I got to, rehash some of those talking points yesterday, which was kind of fun.
I mean, that question never dies. And before we get started, guys, just a reminder, Robert and I have launched the pre-order for Massive Creatine Plus. If you go over the website above my head, pre-order is available. This isn't just your father's creatine. We've added 3 extra ingredients. Robert, can you touch on those?
Yeah, so we got 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, the king of bodybuilding supplements for anybody that really knows anything about supplements in general. It's very affordable, very safe, very effective for strength, power, performance, muscle recovery, muscle growth, increased athletic performance, hydration, all kinds of good stuff. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here with creatine. What we are trying to do is take the regular creatine and package some other ingredients around it that are going to kind of support endogenous ATP production and athletic performance from a few different angles. So we got 10 grams of D-ribose in there, which is a fast digesting carbohydrate. It actually forms the backbone. It's used for the construction of the ATP molecule itself. We've got 150 milligrams of Elevate ATP, which is a combination of ancient peat and apple extracts that's been shown to increase whole blood levels of ATP and actually encourage the cells themselves to produce greater amounts of ATP. And then we have Synactive, which is a combination of Panax noda ginseng and Rosa roxburgh, which helps clear out senescent cells, so the cells that are kind of like dysfunctional and dying. It helps clear them out, replace them with new muscle cells or just new healthy cells, and it also upregulates citrate synthase activity by up to 47%, and that is an enzyme that is involved in the production of ATP. So we're kind of addressing ATP from a bunch of different things here. Creatine monohydrate is absolutely phenomenal, the king of supplements. We're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes and say, hey, this is a better form of creatine. It's not like creatine magna power or crealkaline, buffered creatine hydrochloride. We're giving you the full payload of creatine monohydrate and throwing in a bunch of other kind of cool ingredients to kind of support ATP production along the pathways at different little, odds and ends.
So I want to tell people that are watching that we aren't doing this just to be another bullshit supplement company. Just another company selling creatine. This is a passion project, and we want to see what we can do that's a little bit different when applicable. When it comes to things like our multivitamin, we're not gonna cut corners. Robert knows the difference between what should be in there and what shouldn't be in there. And on the surface, a cursory glance, all multivitamins are the same, right? No, they're not. And we're gonna make sure that what we give you guys isn't the same bullshit floating around the toilet. We're not gonna just be another company. We're not looking at making. We're not looking at, putting out good products for those of you that want good products and want to know you're spending your money on something that's actually scientifically backed. And if you don't believe this stuff is scientifically backed, after listening to Robert speak, something's broken in your cranial region. Your cranial region. All right, enough commercials, Robert. Let's get on. Our boy, can't wait to get started. Thank you for tuning in. I had 8 this morning. Why won't it show? There we go. Awakening of Acuity gave us $10. Have a bourbon on him, Robert. Thank you. We appreciate that. And the entertainment value is a bonus. We try to be entertaining. It's hard not to be entertaining when you're as good looking as we are. Just a reminder. If we get to 100 total viewers, Robert is going to take his shirt off and flex.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Stein, how's it going in Norway? What we got here? If I am not cut at 2,700 calories, do I go to 3,000 to start lean bulk? It would probably be good to spend a week bumping it up a little bit, not a lot of it, just to let things stabilize and see what the scale does. You probably want to see a 2 to 3 pound water weight gain after you're want to see it, but that's normal as you add more calories back. You want to make sure it's not jumping up more than that, like 5 to 8 pounds. So what do we? If you hit no PRs throughout the week, does that mean you need to take a break? No, just a bad week. A lot of this depends on where you are at in the process. Are you an intermediate, early intermediate? If you are a beginner, late beginner, or novice and you don't hit any PRs through the week, doesn't mean you need to take a break. It might mean you need to have a foot shined up, somebody's boot shined up and taken straight up your ass. And I'm not being hard on you, but at that point, if you're at that level, either it's just a really bad week, just the stars aligned, or you need to, pull out your best Rocky Balboa. Robert, you're down in Texas. The no masks, no more masks.
Nope. The governor finally remembered that he has a pair of testicles and let them descend. So the order is going into effect next Wednesday, March 10th. But immediately within him putting that press release or making the announcement, whatever it was, this shitbag mayor of Austin comes out and says, the governor has let these people down. I cannot believe this. Meanwhile, the little fuckwit Austin mayor was jet setting all around Cabo during Thanksgiving, not wearing a mask, got photographed doing us all this shit. So if people, you don't think this is all about politics and grandstanding and all this other disingenuous bullshit, please start to wake up. I haven't worn a mask this entire time. I wasn't going to. Fuck it.
Well,
so, yeah.
I don't wear a mask either, but to be honest, like, we're not against everybody. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to support a business that doesn't require you to wear a mask, don't support them.
Yeah, just like I'm not going anywhere that's forcing me to. Like, I went to go pick up some food for Sandy the other night. She said, hey, stop by Schlotsky's and pick me up something to eat. I said, okay. Big sign on the front that says, for the safety of our customers, we're requiring that you wear a mask. Walked in there, no mask. Nobody told me jack shit. The grocery stores here, they're split down the way. Like, some of them are, and you can tell which way the local news sites are leaning, because they're immediately contacting things like, here's a list of places where you can feel safe and wear your mask. And then they said, these are the places that couldn't be reached for comment. And so like the two grocery stores that we usually go to, they're getting rid of the mask bullshit. But things like Whole Foods, Sprouts, all the granola eating grocery stores around here are still keeping it all there. But yeah, it's like our daycares had signs up. They've never told me anything for not wearing it. Any place I've walked into hasn't told me one thing one way or the other. So
I mean, I'm just going to share my little opinion, and then we can move on because I don't need to hammer COVID to death.
But like you said, it's you had the choice. Like, just because the guy is saying, the governor is saying masks aren't required doesn't mean if you want to wear one, that doesn't mean it's illegal for you to wear one. You have the choice. But don't fucking tread on my rights and tell me I have to do something.
Well, we should have done education from the start. I mean, people have the freedom to smoke, drink, abuse their bodies in all sorts of nefarious ways. And, for like pubs and things like that, the people that are generally high risk aren't even going to be at a pub, So it really, I think, and this is just my opinion, and don't go ballistic on me because I'm not an expert and I'm not, trying to get into politics or any bullshit. But, if a business could just decide this is what I'm going to do or this is what I'm not going to do, and you as an individual can decide whether to support that business or not support that business to protect you or your family or whatever, I think it would have been a better scenario. So
agreed. Let people decide for themselves. Stop putting all these draconian policies.
I think we can all agree, fuck COVID, # fuck COVID. We're all over it, no matter where you land.
And the Austin political structure.
Courtney, hi guys, hope you're doing well. Thank you. We are doing good. Stein, on my bulldozer training for legs today, I did 7 mini sets of squat, leg press, and hamstring curl. Is 7 mini sets the same as 7 normal sets? No. I don't equate them because for those of you not familiar, bulldozer training is basically rest pause training. The way it's structured is generally with a decreasing or increasing rest period between sets. So you could do bench, rest 30 seconds, do a bench set, rest 30 seconds, then maybe 45 or 60, and then up to 90. So what we're doing is, as the cumulative fatigue sets in, we're expanding the rest in between these mini sets. I call them mini sets because you won't be able to get as many reps as you would during a normal set because of the restricted rest. So they're not the same, because that doesn't mean they're inferior or superior. It's a different style of training. They're not equal. Because a mini set, I call it a mini set because you're unable to get the same amount of reps you would during a normal bench press set. Robert, can you, we're actually working together. I'll be working this weekend to check that bulldozer, and it's been 10 years. But Robert and I are going to put that together for you guys as a new program. Robert, can you explain in pause and why they're not equal? Why it's not equal to a regular set?
Yeah, because look in a normal resistance training set, you go and you do your set of 8-10 squats or 8-10 bench press, whatever. You rest 2 to 3 minutes. During that time, your body is replenishing all the ATP stores fully. When you're taking these abbreviated rests, your body's not able to fully replenish all of those ATP stores, and you're still hitting the muscle when it's really fatigued. So you're kind of getting a more powerful muscle building bang for your buck per rep. And so what you're effectively doing is taking all those extended rest intervals, you're truncating it, you're shortening that time period to where you're making it more intensified for the muscles, to where let's say you're lifting your 12 rep max. The first 8 or 9 reps, really, you're just working to fatigue the muscles. You're not really challenging them all that much. It's that 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th reps where you're really, really like squeezing all the muscle building juice out of those muscles. Bulldozer training, rest pause, it kind of shortens that to where you do your first, activation set where you go to within maybe 1 to 2 reps of failure, rack the weight, rest 20 to 30 seconds. And then when you hop back onto the bar, you're still coming in from like a pre-fatigue state to where every one of those reps you're doing from there is I don't know what there's not really a technical term for it, but it's basically you're hammering the muscle when it's in a fatigue state. You're activating more of those muscle fibers, so you're having to do less work to get to that point where you're doing those effective reps.
They're more of a bulldozer training. Each rep is more of a quality rep. Yeah. Like your first set, if you're doing a 10 rep, the first set on a bench for bulldozer might be 10, 11 reps, for example. The first 5 to 6 reps are kind of pretty easy, right? And then when fatigue sets in, the average challenge on a rep becomes more difficult. So what it does is it raises the quality of the average rep over regular sets because you're basically doing away with the first half of a set where everything feels easy. So
you get more hard reps in a given workout, kind of like you get more hard quality reps in that muscle building spectrum.
Yeah. So if you do a bulldozer set, you're probably going to, when I did it, you're probably going to see like 10 to 11 reps on the first set and then like 7, 6 on the second, 18 after 2. And then you're like 4 or 5 for the, 4 sets. You got like, you end up with like 38 reps or whatever, 35, 38 reps. And that's pretty equatable to doing bench for, your bench work. Whether you do 3, 4 sets of 10. So you're going to get about the same amount of reps, but they're going to be more difficult. They're going to be done in a quicker period of time. And you are going to wake up more sore than you were with your regular bench, I guarantee it.
Right there. It hurts you in your little special place. I've got a bulldozer. I'll pull up my log right here.
He's taking his shirt off.
The last bulldozer session, I've got my dry erase board right there. First set, it was 13, 6, 5, 5, 4 is how it broke down for my
so 13,
6, 5, 5, 4, yeah.
29. So 33 and 5. So some might say, bulldozer training, I'm not getting as many reps. You actually are. You're probably getting actually more than you normally bench with.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people do 3 by 10 or 4 by 8. So,
right.
So Robert, I am thinking of the bulldozer of doing some nonlinear periodization. So not doing every exercise every week bulldozer, but cycling between bulldozer bench 1 week, leading off with the bulldozer, and then doing other things like maybe backing it with a dumbbell variation for volume, and then other stuff like that. So stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you also find like the more you experiment with this, certain exercises are better for bulldozering than others. Like with pull-ups don't really work well. If I do chin-ups, that could be a little bit better, but I find like my shoulder ends up being the limiting factor there, not necessarily, the lats, rhomboids, teres, traps, or any of that. But, with dumbbell rows, with inverted rows, one-arm rows, chest-supported rows, it's phenomenal. But I've got to do straight sets when it comes to pull-ups for me.
Yeah, and this is one thing we have to consider. We don't want your cardiovascular system to be the limiter. We want the muscle to be worked. Yeah. Like, for example, when I was doing the bulldozer system, I wouldn't do it for squats. And people would ask why. And usually the cardiovascular system is the limiter, our conditioning, rather than the actual quads. So that's why. Yeah. Pork meat. Do you think static holds are worth incorporating? I will say that I've always done static holds on deadlift day. Usually only 1 set, but like on my last set of shrugs, on my last set of deadlifts, I like to hold the bar as long as I can without dropping it or being an idiot. I like to get in some extra time under tension on my traps, on that whole yoke area. So I don't like to go out. You can add them in. Like if you need extra grip training, you can do them without straps. And you can do some progressive overload with that. 30 seconds, hold as long as you can. if you can get 3 sets of 30 seconds, then add 5 pounds the next week, add 5 pounds the next week. That's a simple way to, work on grip training. But I think there's some value depending on your goals. Robert, have you ever done any of this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to touch on, I guess, the benefits of static holds, and I'm assuming he's talking about these not like an isometric, like you would do, like a wall sit or something like that. I'm assuming he's talking about like you're doing almost like a pause squat or a pause bench or something like that, where you're holding at a certain point. And the benefit of that is it really kind of teaches you to own the weight and get your muscles to do the work. Because if you're just kind of like ramshotting through your reps on a press or exercise squat or anything like that, you're taking a lot of advantage of the elasticity of your muscles and, the elastic stored potential energy that goes in there from like the ricochet effect. When you do the static holds, you pause in there, you're increasing time under tension, but you're also having to generate more power and you're making the muscles do more of the work than just relying on like the springiness or the elasticity of your muscles. So it's a great way to, to at times almost make a lighter weight feel heavier, especially if you're going to do like a 2 or 3 second pause in the hole on a given lift and you got to generate all that force from a dead stop. It can be a great way to do that.
And I apologize, Pork Meat, if you were, I read into it what I, from my own framework, I was thinking of deadlifts and static holds on deadlifts. So if you meant other ways, I apologize.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's so many ways we could interpret these questions, and or like doing an isometric contraction at the beginning before your workout could really help with the mind muscle connection too, to make sure you're working, you're activating the right muscles for a lift. A lot of people have trouble with their back muscles. So that could be a good way to do it if you can find something like back static plank or something like that to do.
So, Robert, I got big news. I'm going to interject this real exciting news. Yeah. My wife came to me this week, and she's like, I think we should start doing some yoga because we're getting old and we're not flexible enough. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, yeah, another activity in my week to try to squeeze in. But Alan and Crystal have a service, and I believe their yoga service comes with their coaching. But we were looking at DDP, and DDP yoga is actually, I find it pretty exciting because it's not like your mother's yoga. It's actually a little bit more, manly. Well, my wife liked it, so I hesitate to use manly. But as a man, I felt it a little bit more like, hey, I want to do that shit like him,
Oh yeah, I've actually done some of so he used to have YRG, which was like yoga for regular guys, and then he did the DDP yoga, and this was, I remember doing some of those like DVDs. I had found them, or like my brother had downloaded them and sent them to me. This is like 2012, 2014 maybe, and like it's got the whole like isodynamic kind of contractions, like you're resisting your muscles pulling in and stuff like that. It's a cool way to do yoga. It's different. I don't know if he's tweaked his system much since those initial DVDs that he's done, but yeah, man, I really enjoyed doing it. That and the different P90X yogas, those are great for at-home stuff.
Well, I watched a movie last night called Captain Fantastic, and it's fantastic, and it's funny the way or you have connection points, because in Captain Fantastic, it's basically about a dad who how to raise their own food and this type of stuff. And the kid goes to the park and he's doing this move that looks like the move in DDP yoga, and he said, "This is this, and this" to the girl that's watching, and I'm like, that's where DDP got it from. He just doesn't call it that, because he doesn't bog you down in. He's more interested. Yeah, he's more interested in results and trying to educate you in what everything's called.
Exactly.
5 grams of creatine 7 days a week, the same as 10 grams four times a week. Robert?
I wouldn't say it's the exact same. At the same time, I wouldn't say that you have to absolutely supplement. So we've got 5 grams of creatine 7 days a week is 35 grams intake. 10 grams a time, 4 times a week is going to be 40 grams. So you're going to be taking more ultimately with the 4 grams of creatine, with the 10 grams of creatine 4 times a week. That being said, you don't necessarily have to take creatine every day. There's some recent studies. There was one that came out in 2020 on healthy young athletes. They only gave creatine to them on their training days. So 5 days a week they took creatine, and then their 2 off days they didn't take creatine. They still got benefits from it. There was another study, I believe it was late 2018 or early 2019, where people only took it 4 times a week, the normal 5 grams a day. and they still got benefit from it. The thing is that it's going to take longer to reach saturation. So that's kind of why we always say, just take your 5 grams of creatine every day, because it's most of the problem. And you'll understand this from like the pharmaceutical side of things, is that one of the biggest problems that doctors have with giving patients prescriptions is making sure that they take it every day. It's the same thing with supplements. People don't have the consistency to take their supplements each day, and maybe that's why they're not deriving benefit from it as they think they should. So that's why it's easier to say, hey, take 5 grams of creatine every day, regardless of time. Let's not even get into that. Just start first by focusing, make sure you're getting all 5 grams each day. And then, that kind of covers you on the days, even when you're not training, you're still, replenishing what's being dropped off and declining in your muscles naturally.
Consistency is a big thing, whether it's training, nutrition, or supplementation. And I like to stress, and I've stressed many times during these lives, that you'll often see guys on the worldwide interwebs saying, I get no benefit from creatine. The question to ask them at that point is, are you taking? I will guarantee, and I would put a wager up of one of my testicles, that at least 90% of these people have not. So when you see claims on the internet, the first thing you like, this workout didn't work. Oh, awesome. This workout didn't work, or that supplement didn't work. The first thing you got to discover, oh, my wife's got a lovely present here for me.
3 more reps.
3 more reps.
3 more reps.
Hello.
This is a sexy book I found on Amazon by George Schneider and Rick Wayne. It basically talks about the training methods of a lot of the old school champions. Really interesting stuff. And it's good to read this stuff because even though it's anecdotal, you can frame it versus modern science. You can compare it to modern science. And I don't know why they have Ed Corney upside down here, but
upside down?
I feel kind of like, it's like a 69 position. Your
that
head's
might
right
be a
at his
unique
crotch.
book that nobody else has, that it's upside down.
Hey,
He's a...
what's going on? Give me a kiss. Oh, there we go. Okay, thanks, bub. Thank you.
Say
Thanks. All right, so anyway, moving on. Greg Duvier, hey guys from Fargo, where in my gym can you play 5-on-5 basketball with no mask, but need a mask to run the track? Right. His gym, you can play 5-on-5 basketball with no mask, but you need a mask to run on the track. I was watching, I was scrolling Instagram last night waiting for dinner, and there was a lady at Starbucks. She was in the drive-thru, and I think I just wanted to stir him up a little bit. But they wouldn't give her drink in her car through the drive-thru unless she put a mask on. The Starbucks person said, I can hand you the mask, but I can't hand you the drink until I hand you the mask and you put on the mask. She's like, can't you just hand me the drink? Because it's the same thing, really, because you're handing a mask to somebody without a mask or handing the drink to somebody without a mask. The risk is equated. So anyway.
Exactly.
That's what triggers me the most, is the random bullshit rules. No matter where you land on this, they're bullshit.
Walking around the street yesterday, so I've seen this middle-aged couple before, and during my walks, they will be not wearing a mask. The second they get around somebody that's walking, they immediately take out these dirty masks from their pocket, put it on, and the second they're past the person, they leave. They take it off and they keep walking. I'm walking yesterday. The dude pulls it out of his pocket. It falls on the ground. He puts it on his face, walks past me, and then takes off. Like, do you realize that shows a complete fucking lack of understanding about the whole purpose and safety of what these people are doing?
A lot of this is about control rather than safety. If we had real if they actually provided real education, masks and how to get the most out of them, I would take this seriously. But touching your face, we're touching our face more than ever, especially in grocery stores. I mean, everybody's touching the cart, touching this, touching that, touching their face, pulling it up, pulling it down. It's like, if anything, this is not helping. Anyway,
it's all for optics now.
What's going on, Austria? I wonder if those who are demanding vaccine passports would be so keen on a healthy weight mandate. Good luck with that. If you say you want to tax Doritos, somebody's going to say, healthy food is so expensive. Okay. Okay. How about instead of that, we run your health insurance premiums the same as your car insurance premiums. The more high risk you are as an individual, the more you have to pay. Personal responsibility. But I have a disease. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Robert McLean. Creatine gives me diarrhea. I would use with whey protein. Any thoughts on that, Robert? I know, like, the only time I really get diarrhea is like when I eat a incredible amount of a little bit more food volume than normal, and just clog up my stomach. It seems like my system wants to flush.
I mean, part of it is that, creatine is an osmolyte, so it's going to pull in water as it's doing that. If he was using a really shitty whey protein concentrate, that could lead to, if he's got some kind of lactose sensitivities, he could be experiencing some GI distress on account of the high lactose from the really crappy whey protein. So that could be contributing to why that you're having the GI upset, the diarrhea, and cramping, bloating, all that good stuff. What you could possibly do, Robert, is maybe divide your dose. So take, 2.5 grams in the morning, take 2.5 grams post-workout, or 2.5 grams, in the evening or something. Take it with a meal if possible. Maybe try to get away from the whey protein. Maybe or if you're using a super high quality protein, like a whey concentrate 80, like a WPC 80 or a WPC or WPI 90 whey protein isolate, then you could try mixing the creatine with that. But, try it in a few different combinations. Also, which brand of creatine were you working with? Is it a reputable manufacturer, or is it one that, could have a bunch of pencil shavings and then mixed in with your creatine? That's something to consider as well.
Thanks, Robert. Greg Duvier, any ideas on how you could flavor your Creatine Plus? We are not going to flavor it ourselves, and I'm not certain that that's your question. Perhaps you're asking how you could mix it. I don't know, but we are not going to flavor it. And here's one of the main reasons why. You better of adding it to grape juice, orange juice, BCA, even a BCA mix with a little bit of flavor mask. I don't, when it comes to straight supplement powders, when you introduce multiple ingredients, you have the potential to have something maybe a little bit bitter or whatever. It's not going to be repulsive, right?
Right.
Having 4 ingredients. It's probably not going to be all that different. But, when I take creatine with a swig of something, a swig of something with flavor just to mask it a little bit.
Yeah, mix it into your pre-workout, your post-workout, your intra-workout, your protein shake afterwards. I mean, you could do it, any of that. If you have a glass of orange juice in the morning, any of those are perfectly fine options. Or if you just have like one of those Mio things and you flavor water during the day, just mix it like that. Any of those are fine.
Yeah, I mean, we risk if we flavored it. If you flavor it, you're gonna segment your base. If we do fruit punch, some people don't like fruit punch. If we do lemon lime, some people don't like lemon lime. If we do blue raspberry.
3 flavors we are never doing, Steve. Fruit punch, blue ras, watermelon. We're never doing those 3 flavors.
All right. Robert's obviously triggered here by watermelon.
No, those are they have been done so often, so poorly. I fucking hate those flavors, especially blue ras. That is the bane of my existence. I've had a good fruit punch here every now and then, but man, by and large, I despise blue ras, and watermelon more often than not just comes across as like overly sweet insipidness over than actually something that's kind of like light and refreshing. So we're never doing. We're gonna do some cool flavors.
Yeah,
fuck the boring flavors.
We're gonna do maple bacon.
Yes.
Fried chicken, honey fried chicken.
Hot wings.
Hot wings. Robert McLean from Long Beach, California. Dungeons and Dumbbells tuning in from Montreal. I finally figured out, made the connection of who you were this week. So I apologize, but we see so many names come by that sometimes I don't make the connection with the Instagram accounts or real people's names. Ed Mercer, if I run a bro split, can I go to failure for most of my sets? I stress this a lot, Ed, that every exercise has a different set of demands. So applying failure to every exercise is generally not a good idea. Many exercises are forgiving. Some increase the risk of injury, say in your biceps. Some, like deadlifts and squats, just increase, a stupid level of risk. So no, we have to understand when we're looking at training to failure that every or any other principle for that matter, that every exercise is different. This is why over the years I've stressed, and I actually have a new T-shirt that says this. Hold on, folks. I put together a new T-shirt this week, and we'll get into that just short. But push a set for as many quality reps as you can. Stop the set when you might fail on the next rep, and you could be 1 to 2 reps shy, but you feel like you might fail on the next rep so you don't get pinned if you have no spotters, or if your form starts to break down, like you lose tightness or your lower back is rounding on deadlifts, etc. That is a better, more safe approach when it comes to longevity. Anything to add to that, Robert?
No, I mean, you pretty much nailed everything. From like the research side of things and just the practical application of stuff, you don't need to go to failure on every set. Stop 1 to 2 sets, 1 to 2 reps short of failure. You don't need to go to absolute failure to where you get pinned by the bar. That's setting you up for form breakdown, increasing your risk for injury, significantly increased wear and tear on all the support structures, added central fatigue, and being able to really like grind out a bunch of compound sets. If you're going to failure every goddamn set in your workout, I mean, it's not a recipe for success. You're going to start feeling more and more fatigue, both centrally and locally in the muscles. It's going to reduce your training motivation. If you want to take the last set of an exercise to failure on for each exercise in your workout, sure, that's fine. So if you've got, 4 exercises for chest, you got incline press, you got flat press, you've got cable crossover, and you got dips. Yeah, you could take each of those last sets to failure, but if you're doing 4 sets of an exercise, don't take all 16 sets to failure. That's just dumb. You could do 4 sets to failure and do the last set on each one, push it for as many quality reps as possible. And then actual failure is when you can no longer lift the weight or lower it under control. If you're having to do the hokey pokey to get the weight up and, having like a conniption fit or a monkey fucking a coconut kind of reaction to get the bar up, that's training past failure.
Yeah. So, for my beginner clients, like the rep goal system, when you're still pretty fresh and you're past the first 2 or 3 months of training, pushing sets like that to the limit is easier because the relative intensity is not there. Yeah. For my early intermediate trainees, I only have them push 1 set. That's the last set. You can do the first set if you want. The last set's just easier. The shirt I kept showing, if the text under it, and look, I'm not going to, I sell about 2 shirts a month, so it's not like I'm trying to make money here, but the text under this says, push a set for as many safe reps as possible, stopping that set. I just put that text under there because I probably said that like 10 million times in my life. Slim, Lancaster, PA. Cristobal, best direct weighted ab exercises. Weighted ab exercises.
Cable crunches?
Yeah, cable crunches. I used to do decline sit-ups or decline crunches, and I know the spinal flexion isn't in vogue, but I used to do some weighted decline sit-ups. When it comes to ab training and progression, I don't always like to look at it as how do I add weight. I like to look at it as how do I increase what's the next progression. Yeah. And when it comes to progression on body weight, maybe Robert can explain this a little bit. Like you can start with planks, which are boring, and then you can do shoulder tap planks where you're actually doing reps, which makes it a little bit more exciting. You can do rolling planks where you can actually count the rolls or reps. So you can have progressions. You can do walk-out planks where you bring your hands into your feet and then walk out, etc. So, Robert, can you explain, for those that don't want to do weighted ab exercises, what a progression is?
Yeah, so you can also take it. All right, so we're going to start with, let's use the plank example. So you got the forearm plank. You got your forearms on the ground, elbows, your elbows are directly under your shoulders. You got your feet spread apart. So that's going to be kind of like the easiest version of the plank. You want to progress it to make it a little bit more challenging, bring your feet in together. So it's all when you're trying to progress body weight exercises, it's either going to be, shortening or lengthening the lever arm or, adding or removing points of stability. So here we're going from a wide foot position to a shorter foot position. You want to make it more challenging from there. Go up onto your hands to where you're in the top of a push-up position. And if that's too challenging, then go back to spread your feet apart. That's going to make it a little bit easier. So right now, so our next plank, we're at the top of push-up position. We got our both feet together. You want to progress it even harder. Raise one foot off the air. All right. So now you've got 3 points of contact, and you've got that added. You got anti-rotation going on with your core now. You're trying to resist your body getting pulled up because you got 1 foot in the air. You want to make it even more challenging. Raise the opposite arm in the air. And that's all this is going to be hammering the shit out of your midsection. So let's say you're going to raise your right leg up, then put your left arm out, out to the side, out in front of you, and any of those things. So you're constantly increasing the demands by removing some points of stability on there. You want to progress that out to there, so you can do that. If you want to not do the instability stuff, you can start to do maybe an ab wheel. You could do a walkout plank where instead of your arms being directly under your shoulders, you walk them out a little bit further. I think sometimes they call it a Superman plank, maybe. There's so many different names for that. You could do Chinese planks, which is kind of like an inverted plank where you set up 2 benches, you put your feet on one bench, you put your backside on the other, and you kind of push up, and it's like a reverse plank. So you're pushing up, activating your traps, rhomboids, all the back muscles there, as long with your glutes, hamstrings, all of that stuff. So those are ways to do it. You can also increase how long you're doing an isometric hold. So if you're doing something like a jackknife setup, again, you can start with your legs wide. You can bring them closer together. You can hold the top point of the jackknife setup and then slowly lower down. Same thing you would do with any kind of other exercise. You can slow down the eccentric. You can explode the concentric, hold the peak contraction for a couple of seconds, and then slowly go back down. You could also hold like a medicine ball over your head or in between like your ankles or your legs or something like that to add some kind of small resistance, because even a 2 or 4 pound medicine ball doing something like a jackknife setup is going to add a pretty substantial load to you when you're trying to do it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Robert, because I was thinking as you're speaking that I wanted to mention that nobody ever does for abs and core that I used to do, and I don't like to do ab exercises, but I like this. I would sit on a bench or lay on a bench press and you want to start with just the bar or 5 pounds on each side or 10 pounds on each side. I would put my feet under dumbbells, so to have some, bracing, so my feet wouldn't fly up, and I would unrack where the bar is over your chest, and then I would go to with the bar directly over my head, keeping my back straight. That's incredibly challenging I found it a little bit challenging for those who have hip issues. The hip is involved with that as well. But have you ever messed around with that variation, Robert?
Not in that exact, not technically using a barbell. I've done it with like 2 dumbbells. I've done it that way with that. That's a pretty big challenge.
You can do it with a sandbag, a backpack, like you said, a medicine ball or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, you can do any of those. I've done it more. I tend to do more jackknife kind of sit-ups than just keeping the lower body fixed and moving, my trunk more. But that's going to have to be a variation. I've tried it once before when you mentioned it, but I typically, just because we did so many jackknife sit-ups and variations of it like that with Taekwondo, that's kind of where I've always gravitated towards that, or like the Russian twists, all of those kind of like old school exercises.
So before we move on, I want to mention a couple of things. We were talking about failure, and I've been reading a lot lately. Just not like it matters, but there was a huge debate between Lyle McDonald and Dr. Mike, and Dr. Mike was stating he's training to failure, and Lyle's like, your rep speed's the same. I don't want to get into that whole shitstorm because it's best, but we can learn something from it, and that is when your rep speed starts to slow down, you're probably pretty close to failure. So if you notice, like someone will say, how do you know if you're going to fail on the next rep? Well, one guideline you can use is if your rep speed starts to slow, where you notice your rep speed slows, then it's and you completed that rep, it's probably time to shut it down.
Yeah, you start getting those grinder reps, and yeah, you're right there.
Right there. And, speaking of Dr. Mike, I mentioned to Robert, and Robert and I have tossed around different ideas. Robert has an idea for, more scientific, a website that dives into more scientific look at things. Me and Robert have talked about this, but I've been considering doing something more along the lines of the RP site, the Renaissance, where we can centralize information between us, Robert and I, and we were tossing around names. I was trying to figure out which domain name was available. I'd like to hear what you guys have to think. I think Mass U is available, Massive University, Massive U. I considered the Mass Engineer, combining me and Robert.
That's a cool one. You didn't tell me that you were thinking that one.
Yeah, I didn't want to pull that one out of the bag because everyone engineer, spelling engineer. So, yeah, but just we're thinking of ideas. So if you guys have any ideas or you like any of those,
musclenerds.com.
100 views for nudes, something like that. So if you guys have any thoughts, let us know. Stan, and I'm, I sell a lot of, I do a lot of coaching and we do a lot of programs. We're looking for ways to tailor products to people that don't necessarily want coaching, don't necessarily just want to buy a book. So Renaissance Periodization has some Excel spreadsheets and programs on there where you basically plug in your numbers. It gives you workouts, etc. So I'm exploring that. I need to find somebody that is an Excel ninja that wants to make extra money, and somebody that can get projects done quick, because I am not one that likes to fuck around. If I give somebody a project, I don't want it to take 3 weeks. I want it to take, I want them to dive in, get it over with, and move on to the next project. So
exactly.
Stan, I want a good work ethic. I'll pay good. All right. I'm doing hack squats twice a week. Should I do 10 to 12 reps one day and 6 to 8 the other? I find on hack squats that I like to work at 8 reps, maybe 10 reps most. It's just a personal thing. Is there value in working at a different intensity? Yeah, probably. There's value on the joints and connective tissue. You're not overworking the same thing at the same intensity. As long as those sets are pushed hard, there can be value. I mean, in the long run, over 5-10 years, it's not really going to matter much as long as a relative intensity, like you're pushing these sets and you're progressing. But yeah, that's a good way to push it. Mixing things up is usually good for the soul. Any thoughts, Robert?
Yeah, it also helps relieve some of the stress on the joints, ligaments, connective tissue. I mean, you don't want to grind in the same rep range all the time. Even if you're doing the same exercise during the week, it's a good idea to vary your rep ranges. There's benefits to be had between, 6 to 8 reps, 10 to 12, 12 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25 on certain other exercises. So yeah, it's good for not necessarily just like muscle, but all the supporting structure too.
And Chris, one of my viewers, boom. Orion says you can't isolate a muscle completely. Ryan Humiston has left the chat. There's very few people on really ride hard. Very few people in this industry that grate my cheese, and Humiston's one of them. And I've been on him I remember messaging Robert probably a year ago saying, look at the way this guy's trying to teach, pull-ups. And this guy's, in my opinion, an idiot. But this week, Robert, Mr. Humiston video basically saying fad diets were a good thing. Or what did he say? What does my Instagram say?
Crash dieting is a good thing.
Yeah, crash diet. Oh my God, this guy's just a clown, And every time I make a video that mentions him about, 7 exercises for gains, he puts out a new one like that. Like, how many fucking bicep exercises do you have?
I'm just wondering the people that go and keep watching his stuff. That's what I'm trying to understand. What is the mindset of the individual who regularly tunes in and actually supports and enjoys his content? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Look, I mean, there is some value in there are some things you can learn, but muddled in that mix is just a whole shit pile of crap.
Yeah.
And when you're coaching people, when you're trying to help people, you are trying to remove the noise, remove all the periphery stuff that they don't need to focus on.
Correct.
They need to move to consistency. They need to move to the fundamentals. When you're trying to create the best baseball player or MMA fighter, you're not trying to give them 7 How much more training can we do? How many different things can we add? You want to make sure they master the fundamentals first, and that's a lot where he fails. And look, I'm just going to show this, and it's I'm not bashing Ryan as a person, right? We're talking about information, and we need to understand the difference here. If you go over to his his website and just search, like I searched up here, bicep. 4 bicep exercises you need to do. 4 bicep exercises that'll save your life. Bicep exercises, big bicep workout, dumbbell only bicep workout, 3 bicep exercises for peaks, bicep exercises you're doing wrong, best dumbbell bicep exercises, how to get bigger biceps, how to grow your biceps, get bigger, faster biceps, 3 bicep exercises, how to get bigger biceps fast while your biceps aren't growing, get bigger biceps at home, 7 best dumbbell bicep exercises. Like, it goes on for infinity.
This is catering to that 18 to 24-year-old insecure college age early adult male that feels their entire life is living or dying by the size of their biceps. That's exactly what it's catering to.
I mean, if you think this guy isn't pushing buttons for money, for the love of God, go search biceps on his page. And look, if it's filling a need, that's great. But is this really helping people? That's the question. Is it really helping people? Okay, enough. Greg Duvier, any idea when Apollo Nutrition is coming out with the joint sup you helped create?
Yes, I talked with the manufacturer for that product on Monday of this week. The flavor samples Sandy and I tried last week are a go. I told Robbie at Apollon that, yes, we are ready to launch that. Now it's a matter of getting the PO finalized, Robbie putting in the initial down payment, and then it's they'll give us a production estimate from there. So once the PO is kicked in, and Robbie was going over the facts and figures with his other partners at Apollon this week, they'll be probably putting in the PO next week, and then it'll probably be 6 to 8 weeks from that. So that's for the Apollon joint formula. Regarding the massive iron joint formula, I touched base with the manufacturer today. He's getting us quotes on pricing. He asked if we wanted a 20 or 30 serving size bottle. I told him 30 servings, definitely. And then he was saying pills or powder for that one. And anybody that knew what I was doing with the Apollon joint formula, there was one ingredient that was god-awful tasting, ruined the entire flavor. We pulled that, swapped it in for a similar ingredient. I'm going to try to put that really horrid tasting one into the massive iron joint formula we're working on, but we'll probably end up making that one capsules because that's just that it's going to be easier to get that run. Like the flavoring challenges. If you guys tried this ingredient, you'd punch me in the face. That's how bad it was tasting if I made you taste what we had to taste. So do you have preferences for pills or powder for the joint formula, Steve? I think we're gonna probably be able to get it turned around quicker if we do caps.
Well, my preference is always for the best ingredients. And if we have one ingredient that's off-putting, I think we need to be pragmatic and deliver it in a vehicle that won't make everybody want to punch us in the nuts.
Yeah. Right now, we're looking at about 6 capsules for a full serving.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to consider as well. I mean, do people want to take 6 caps for a joint formula?
Right, but it's massive joints, so you got to expect a big payload of capsules for stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. If we put it in a just like a pill format, what's the size of this thing going to be? Like a truck?
No, I mean it'll be well. That was another question the manufacturer had for us. Like, what size caps do we want to use? Do we want to use the standard 750 milligram caps? Do we want to use the 1,000 milligram caps, which are like the horse capsules? If anything, I would probably do the 750, like a bunch of smaller ones than like 4 huge ones.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the horse pills. Those are tedious. Yeah. And swallowing 6 caps for a joint sup, that goes back to will people actually want to do that every day? I mean, if there's a way, I'm kind of leaning towards powder if we could flavor it. What's the ingredient in there that's causing the issue?
Paractin. It's an Andrographis paniculata standardized extract. It's only 300 milligrams, but it is so astringent tasting. I mean, just from like the stuff we were doing with the Apollon joint formula, removing that one and switching it out with a different ingredient that kind of works along the same pathway and mechanism, night and day difference. I mean, like you go from a horrid tasting product to something that you would actually enjoy drinking each day. So, I mean, we could easily make that switch and do that too. I mean, that's not an issue.
I'm kind of leaning that way, because I don't like horse pills. I don't want to take a product at the end of the day. So I don't know. We'll talk about it and let us know what you guys think.
Yeah. And see, the guys, this is the kind of those like the backdoor conversations that we have, that I have with supplement companies on like a daily or weekly basis, that you guys never understand what's going on with supplements. You're like, well, why is it this ingredient here? Or why is this dosage here? It's kind of these kind of interactions. Like you got to decide how many capsules are you willing to do, and then you have to think from the consumer side, and then you have ingredient flavoring challenges and all this kind of stuff. So it's not always just, hey, this is the ingredient you have to do, this is the dosage that has to be in there. There's a bunch of different things that kind of go in all of this.
Yeah, and consistency, like giving people a product that they will actually use on a daily basis for convenience it is an issue for me. I hate horse tablets. I used to be a big fan of gummy delivery for supplements, but gummies, you can't chew them into small enough bits to swallow. Like you're chewing and chewing and chewing, and they're not like breaking down into small enough bits. I like chewies, like chewy tabs that you can chew. But I'm not even sure that's that's even a delivery mechanism. If it was, I'd make everything chewies in my life, rather than drinking a powder. But anyway, and Andy Thousand, give us a great 5 days. So we're not talking full body, and we're not talking upper lower, because upper lower you just cycle between upper A, lower A, upper B, lower B, etc. over the course of 5 days. One split I really like is you do your chest and your triceps, or chest and biceps, back. Well, let me break this down. Okay, you have focus, you have a back focus, you have a shoulder focus, and you have a quad focus. That's 4 days. What you do differently is on the 5th day, you have a deadlift and hamstring focus. So you're doing deadlifts and then Romanian deadlifts, maybe Dimmel deadlifts, some hamstring work like leg curls. Maybe you toss abs in. Maybe you want to do calves twice a day. You put that on this day as well at the end. You can also put shruggies in. By doing this is one of my favorite ways of doing a 5-day split. On back day, then you can really focus on back. You don't have to lead off with deadlifts. You can hit it with a row out of the gate. There's so many good back exercises. You can really push your back outside of the realm of the deadlift. So, Robert, do you have any interest in 5-day splits? If so, what tickles your nipples?
Yeah, this is actually what I've been kind of running more or less for the past like 3, 4, 5 months. And I was actually talking about this yesterday on the live. It's funny that this is coming up again. It's a different individual asked the question, but it's more along the same lines. Like, hey, what does your current training look like? So Mondays are an off day for me. Tuesday is pull, so back buys. Wednesday is legs. Thursday is push muscles. Sometimes I'll flip-flop Wednesday and Thursday's workout. Friday's an off day, so obviously today's an off day. Saturday is kind of a touch-up upper body day where I'll do about 3 sets for chest, 3 sets for shoulders, 3 sets for vertical pulling, 3 sets for horizontal pulling, and then 3 sets bis and tris. And then Sunday is my heavy leg day. Monday's off. So for like what I mean by the touch-up upper body day, it'll be like 3 sets of low incline press, 3 sets of neutral grip pull-ups, 3 sets of shoulder press, or like a pike press, or like a handstand push-up against the wall, 3 sets of chest supported rows, and then 3 supersets, or a superset done 3 times of incline curls and overhead dumbbell tricep extensions or skull crushers. So that's that. And then just kind of rinse and repeat that way. So it's a push, or legs push pull off. Push pull legs off upper lower split. That's kind of how I spin that, and then I kind of regulate the intensity or the volume depending on how the things are recovered. Typically, it's my shoulders that are the limiting factor on everything.
Sorry if I was distracting you, Robert. My wife was telling me she's going grocery shopping. One thing I like as well is you can do. We got Mr. B Butters of Butterville here tuning in. You can do an arm day if you want. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you have recovery before your back and your chest day or your shoulder day. So you have to structure it wisely. So I noticed Andy Thousand, you worked in a website there, which was pretty snazzy. I was just checking that out while Robert was talking, and I don't usually plug websites, but it looks like a magazine, some interesting stuff on there. So I'm not sure who you are, if you run that website, if that's your name or whatever, but it looks like you put a lot of effort into that. So thumbs up. All right, what do we got here? Angry Jackson Steele. That sounds like a pro wrestler name. Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Robert, you guys appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Mr. Butters thanks you as well. We now call him Bubba Sauce, the Sauce Boss, Bubba Sausage. All right, what do we got here? I wear a mask just to avoid drama. I can understand that. I've been kicked out of Walmart for not wearing one, or had the police called on me, so I get it. I wasn't being unruly. They just kind of chased me down. I've only had a Karen ask me to put it on properly once. Yeah, I don't know. I'm all over this. 100% politics, in my opinion. I mean, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, and this is not a pro or anti political statement for any party. What we do know is the 15 states in the United States that do not currently have mask mandates are conservative. That was we have states like Montana, Texas, etc. And it is what it is. Conservative-leaning states tend to be more choice when it comes to masks. I am not stepping my foot into one political party, standing with one or another. I'm simply stating a fact, so don't skewer me. Leon, is it enough if I hit every muscle group every 4 days? Yes.
Funny.
Doing push-pull legs and after 2 workouts, 1 rest day. 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off is a really good approach in my of how you train, because if you're training hard, generally 2 days in a row, you're about toast. I feel toast. I don't know about you, Rob.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, that like that 5-day split that I'm running out, that middle of the week, like that Wednesday leg workout is more often than not a heavy lifting day. It's either like a bodyweight calisthenics kind of day, or it's more of like a conditioning day with anything. It's got some plyos in there, might have some other kind of body weight circuits or other conditioning or kettlebell swings, that kind of stuff. My heavy lift, there's only one heavy lifting leg day a week. And since it's sandwiched in between like the 2 upper body days in the middle of the week, that one's more of like I wouldn't say an active recovery day, but it's definitely more of like the conditioning or touch-up day for the legs in the middle of the week, because there's no way I could do super hard Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, and then bust my ass again on Saturday or something. That's just too much fatigue that way. But yeah, I like the 2 on, 1 off is a really, really, really good way to go.
When I make comments on social media about you really, if you train more than 5 days a week, you're not training hard enough, and it triggers some folks. But like, I've tried to train 6 days a week before, and there's some trade-off. Can it be done? Yeah, it can be done. Some people can do it.
Yeah, I mean, can you train 6 days a week? Absolutely. Does and still be setting new records and PRs in the gym? Absolutely. But does that mean all 6 days have to be resistance training workouts? No, you can train in other aspects. So like I'll do, I've got my Taekwondo background. I'll do heavy bag work sometimes on those Wednesdays as far as my conditioning stuff. You can train and be physically active every damn day of the week if you want to. You just don't. It doesn't always have to be resistance training. There are a ton of other forms of training that you can do depending on what your goals are.
I want to stress this as well, and this is a point I will continue to make until I fall off this earth, is just because you can do something doesn't mean it's wise to do.
Yeah.
When an athlete doesn't say how much training can I do, how much training can I get away with? They ask what is optimal.
Correct.
And the problem with gym, like, hey, I love to exercise. Some of you just need to get a second hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because you can do it doesn't mean it's adding any value. In fact, in the long run, it might actually be detrimental and beat your body up.
Yeah.
Stein, when my strength is going up while losing weight, am I building muscle? Potentially, yes. What I like to tell people is if you haven't built a lot of quality strength, and that doesn't mean you're weak, but you have a potential to build strength while losing weight. If you've built a lot of quality strength, then you're probably going to lose it while losing weight. And I have had some clients build that have had 6 months cuts that their strength went up a lot where they put on some muscle. Was it optimal? Far from optimal. So any thoughts on that, Robert?
No, you pretty much said everything. There's nothing to add to it beyond what you said.
What's going on, Dave? Dave is a massive Iron Insider. Doing bro splits, Monday chest tries, Tuesday back buys, Wednesday rest, Thursday liggies, Friday abs and shoulders. Each day is 5 exercises with 4 sets. That's reasonable. That sounds reasonable. I like to do traps and shoulders because on your overhead presses, you do work traps. I like to take that back equation because you're already, working the back pretty hard that day, and adding in like a trap exercise can be tedious. So that's fine. Just make always understand the devil is in the details. If one aspect of that program, tweak it. Don't just jump to a new program. All right, Brendan. Each muscle group twice a week. You can train each muscle group twice a week. Absolutely. There's no downside, really. I mean, as long as you're training properly, we're not going to be like bro splits or death. It certainly is reasonable, and most of my clients train using an A-B type of split. How to bring up lagging shoulders. Most people do not train their shoulders with the same intensity as their chest. So the cornerstone for me is to do 2 compounds a week, especially if you're doing an A-B type of split like you are. A barbell and a dumbbell press. I don't care what variation it is, seated, standing, single arm, whatever, doesn't really matter. That's the cornerstone. After that, face pulls on the back burner a little. I'm not telling you not to do them, but focus on side lateral raises, bulldozer lateral raises, or something like that to fill in the cracks. I like to do one exercise I've really starting to like is the hex bar upright row. So, Robert, I'm curious. Let's go down this rabbit hole a minute. I was listening to Lyle McDonald and Dr. Mike debate whether a rep was towards failure or not. I stumbled upon a video by Lyle where he's talking about the upright row. Mm-hmm. And where the origin of the upright row fear developed. And the upright row certainly has a potential to create an impingement, but these guys were training it, bringing the bar way up here, etc. And he was saying basically if you bring it lower on the chest of the sternum, which is where I do it, and maybe use dumbbells, things are a lot more safe. Yep. I like to use the hex bar or the dumbbell upright row. So do you have any opinion on the upright row when it comes to shoulder development?
Yeah, I like, just like you said, I mean, the easy bar one is okay too. Just it's more of like having your hands in that fixed position and bringing it way up high with this close grip like this. That's where you get all that shear stress in your shoulder, the internal rotation, all that stuff. I've almost always done them with dumbbells, and where you can pull up and out to the side like that, so you get a little bit of the external rotation. You can get your arms up, your wrists a little bit higher, and everything like that. It feels better than me like that. If I'm doing with just a straight bar, it irritates the shit out of my bicep tendon, especially on my left arm. My right arm not so much, but my left arm bicep tendon, the straight bar upright row aggravates the piss out of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can work in machine shoulder press, that's a good variation. that's when you can do for volume. That's a little bit more forgiving on the joints. You can
pike presses, even dips. I mean, like we think that's a chest and tricep move, but I mean my shoulders get more sore from dips than anything else. Pike presses I really like too, or you can get your feet elevated. Those kind of are handstand push-ups or against the wall. Those are really good if you're looking for like another way to get some volume without having to do more weight stuff. That's a really good option.
All right, thanks, Robert. RKO by Orton. Is it okay if I don't get sore? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I train hard, but I never get sore, only a little bit. Every muscle, like the goal, you don't have to chase soreness, okay? That's not the goal. The goal is to master the fundamentals, and you're going to get sore in some places, and some places you're not going to get sore. I think my shoulders have been sore once in 35 years, and they're one of my better body parts. You have to understand that every muscle group has a different makeup, different leverages, different makeup, different connective tissue, different fascia, etc. There is also some indication, scientifically, we know that fascia connective tissue in a muscle has 9 times more sensory neurons than the muscle itself. So there's a good possibility that a lot of the soreness you're feeling could be fascia or connective tissue, fascia related rather than muscular. So the stiffness is usually the fascia or the sheath around a muscle, calcification or whatever they call it, Robert. You're more scientific, far more scientific than I am.
Yeah.
But each muscle has a different makeup. That's the bottom line. And things will never be equal. You have anything to add to that, Robert?
No, I mean, yeah, like you said, chasing soreness is not absolutely, and a lot of time soreness is just from doing a different movement pattern, maybe. So if you're switching from, wide grip bench to a close grip bench, there's some element of like kind of neuro reprogramming that's going on, like your body's getting used to what the hell that you're doing that's different. And so that's where sometimes the soreness creeps in from that. But no, soreness is not absolutely essential to getting results. It can be an indicator that you've had a good workout and you fatigue the muscle, but it's not absolutely a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, when I squat, my quads never got sore, but my hamstrings always got sore, which is probably a good indication that my quads were a lot stronger than my hamstrings, and my hamstrings were taking more of a direct hit. That's always my opinion. But my quads always grew, is what it is.
Yeah.
And Mr. B, but my wife has gone grocery shopping, and the dog is barking at people passing by on downtown Lebanon, Ohio. So if you hear noise, I'm not strangling the dog.
Not yet.
Not yet. Bree, is metabolic damage a real thing? Robert, I'm going to kick this one your way.
I'm going to say yes, but probably not in the context you're thinking. Yes, it is. If you eat yourself into a very overweight, obese state and you are sedentary and you don't take care of yourself, yes, you will suffer metabolic syndrome, metabolic damage. Insulin sensitivity will be wrecked. Blood sugar regulation will be wrecked. Triglycerides will be out of whack. Cortisol, all kinds of other hormone productions will be jacked up. And that is the very definition of metabolic damage. Absolutely. If I think about where this question is probably coming from, it's probably coming from like the crash dieting side of things, to where people that do these fad diets or these crash diets, or they sign on with these prep and physique coaches and they have them on like less than 1,000 calories a day. Could that lead to some metabolic dysfunction if you're in a prolonged state of that? Yes. Do I think you're just doing a normal diet for 6 months going to make you have metabolic damage? No.
No. I agree with you 100%. I mean, first off, 90% of people that do diets don't consistently. So we have to be realistic in our assessments here. I get clients all the time like, things slowed a little bit for a week. Do I have metabolic damage? From what I understand wrong, there are different ways. The body is a very complex mechanism, and from my understanding, and I actually put this in an article a while back. From my understanding, is that a fat cell will replace the fat with water initially, and then it's kind of the defense mechanism, before it completely says we don't need this as much. and then eventually the water will flush out. So that possibility that you could be holding water in a fat cell rather than fat in a fat cell, and you can actually be losing some of the contents so that there can be more water in that cell than there was fatty tissue or whatever that makeup is, etc. And sometimes you just need time. Can flush out. You'll have a big water flush day. I find with clients sometimes little things make a big difference. Like some people are more carb sensitive, and if you remove some of the sugars, flours, processed food, their body responds better, etc. So it's usually the solution is not metabolic damage. I've never run into a case of that.
Yeah, it is a real thing, but the percentage of people that have actually experienced it, assuming we're talking about from a weight loss standpoint, not the metabolic damage associated with being chronically overweight or in a hyperinsulinemic or hyperglycemic state, then yeah, that's two different things entirely. But don't let the people that are praying and doing the fear mongering of metabolic damage, especially like the keto carnivore zealots, all that shit, don't buy into that.
Where we go? No Fortnite. Do you think an upper limit 4 times a week is enough? Yes. Most of my clients have that. With about 6 sets for most muscles, no. I don't believe that's enough.
Yeah, 6 sets per muscle group per workout, yes, but only 6 sets across the week, probably not.
Yeah, if it's per workout, yeah, because you're going to be about 12 sets per week, and that's a good range to be at. 12 hard working sets. Yeah. I have no issue with that. But if it's just a week, yeah, that's probably not enough. That's on the low end, and you'd have to do some wizardry and shenanigans. You're kind of pushing the low end of things because you're reducing time under tension, mechanical tension, overall volume, overall stress on the muscle. And it's not just as simple as the number of sets. Scotty, I use DDP yoga for my flexibility training. And it looks like a great core workout as well. It looks more fun than doing core workouts to me.
Yeah.
Andres, I've been looking for an effective tricep exercise. Skull crushers are uncomfortable on my wrists. Am I doing something wrong? How narrow is your grip on the easy bar? You doing this type of thing? Because that could be it. I'm sensing there's a possibility you might be using a straight bar. Straight bar can put extra tension on the wrists. So correct me if I'm wrong. I would really have to look at it because usually it's the elbows that's the issue. If you're having issues with the exercise, just dump it. Do something different. Cable tricep extensions, single arm cable tricep extensions, French press, single arm dumbbell overhead presses, JM press, close grip bench. There's a lot of good stuff. So don't be tethered to any exercise that's beating you up. BA, thoughts on post-workout shake of whey, HBCD, EFG, taking what in the world is HBCD, Robert?
It's highly branched cyclic dextrin, or it's also known as cluster dextrin. It's a low osmolality, high molecular weight carbohydrate source that's derived from amylose pectin, I believe. And anyway, basically, it's got this highly branched chemical structure. And what that does is that it makes it go really quick through the GI system. And it doesn't really spike insulin levels. It keeps it pretty steady. Like, even though it's really fast digesting, it doesn't create this huge spike and then drop in thing like some other kind of carbohydrate sources would. It doesn't also come with it's easier on the GI system than something like maltodextrin or waxy maize. And it's in a lot of the designer carbohydrate supplements, intra-workout supplements, post-workout supplements that are sold in the industry. The data on it's okay. Do I really think it's that much better than regular dextrose? I mean, from like the jazzy, snazzy marketing side of things, the supplement industry makes it sound like HBCD is great and regular dextrose is garbage. That's not really the case. I mean, look at the highest performing athletes that you see out there. NFL football players, NBA players, professional soccer players, or football for you, regular football for you international viewers out there. Are they drinking highly branched cyclic dextrin during timeouts and during halftime? No, they're chugging regular fucking Gatorade or Powerade or something else like that. I mean, the bodybuilding industry has made us believe that we absolutely have to have highly branched cyclic dextrin because it is such a superior carbohydrate source. In real world, in the theory and science, sure, maybe so. But in real world applicability, you're looking at the top tier high end athletes. Dextrose in regular Gatorade powder works just fine. All that being said, thoughts on a post workout shake of whey and branch, and then having a well balanced meal 90 minutes later. It's entirely context dependent upon, did you have anything as an intra workout? How close was your pre workout meal to your training session? So if you ate 1 to 2 hours before your resistance training session, your body's still assimilating, digesting, absorbing all of those nutrients, the carbohydrates, amino acids, fats that you had in that pre-workout meal. Do you absolutely have to have a whey protein and fast digesting carb shake post-workout? Not necessarily, especially if you're only training once a day. You really don't need to worry about that. You could just have your regular well-balanced meal and be on with your day and all that fine. The caveat I would say is that if you're somebody that is trying to build muscle, like build mass, and you suffer from low appetite or you're having trouble cramming in all of your calories in a day, then that whey and HBCD shake could be a way to help you get your calories in quicker. And we know that liquid calories, by and large, are not as filling as whole food calories or like solid meal calories. So if you're using it as a way to help it make sure you're hitting your calorie goals, get enough protein, carbs, and that way without feeling like super distended, bloated, sluggish, lethargic all the time, then yeah, it's perfectly fine. But is it absolutely essential that you have that and then your meal 90 minutes later? No, you could easily just have you could cut the shake, save money because HBCD is god awfully expensive, and just go with a whole foods meal. But it's very case dependent.
Thanks, Robert. I pulled up a video for this one. Thoughts on treating clean style deadlift as a main lift. All right. So I'm going to remove the question. We're going to talk clean style deadlift, and I'm going to pull up a video. And look, here's what I'm going to say first. And I just critiqued a client's deadlift this morning that had this issue. The deadlift, when it comes to your hips, if they're too high, let me get my hand here. If your hips are too high when you pull, your body's going to do this when you pull. Your hips are going to come up because you're already at a leverage disadvantage and you're going to place more stress on your lower back. If your hips are too low when you start to pull, as in the clean style deadlift, if you think pull or yank off the ground, your hips are going to come up as well because your hips are low. Your body's trying to find a natural leverage position when you start pulling. So the hips are going to start rising and accelerating when you pull. So that sets the tone for a look at the clean style. All right. So I believe I have this muted. Hips down. When she pulls, you see her hips come. But I want you to notice in this clean style deadlift that she has hip discipline. Her hips don't shoot up like this. My client's hips starting low and they shoot up like that. She has hip discipline. Hip discipline is something I talk about over and over and over. You have to have hip discipline. When you start the deadlift and you start to pull or stand up, you need to keep your hips stapled in place. It's like a martial arts cue. It's a discipline. A lot of people will say, it's because of hip mobility and this, that, and your weak glutes. No, it's because you're not disciplined. It's going to be slow off the ground, but you need – now let's watch another rep. Watch. Hips down, hip – they reach that sweet spot of leverage. The hips reach that sweet spot of leverage, and they freeze. Sweet spot right there. Perfect deadlift position, right? Perfect for her body type. And watch her hips. They do not come up. Discipline. So you can do them, but you need to understand this. Okay, you need to understand what hip discipline is. Let's watch this dude. Okay. Down. His hips come up. They don't shoot all the way up. Bad hip disciplines when your torso gets almost parallel to the ground. So, yeah, you can use it as a main lift, but I'm going to tell you it's far more technical, and you better have your deadlift hip discipline nailed before you start screwing around with that. So I hope that helps. Daniel, fast or slow protein doesn't matter.
By and large, no. For the average individual, they do not need to get mired down in the details of fast versus slow digesting proteins. More often than not, it's consuming enough high-quality protein and evenly spacing those protein feedings out through the day is going to have a much greater impact than a fast or slow digesting protein. Plus,
sorry, Robert.
I was going to say, plus, we're not always just consuming protein in isolation. More often than not, your protein is going to be, combined alongside fats and carbs that have fiber in it, and there's going to be some fat in the protein itself. So you're going to get the sustained release of amino acids through the body throughout the daytime anyway.
So, Robert, let's say you're a rock star. Okay, your see with nutrition is nailed.
Mm-hmm.
You're training and you are building about, your growth rates are where they should be. Is there any benefit to before bed having like a casein shake, a slower digesting protein? Is it worth?
In the context of you hitting all of your numbers throughout the day, and assuming you're either at maintenance calories or in a calorie surplus, no, I don't think it's going to matter one heck of a lot difference either way. Because assuming you're having a bed, let's say you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, you had dinner at 7 or 8. I mean, your body's still digesting the stuff at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night when you're going through that. Now, if you're in a calorie deficit and you're cutting for like a physique competition, photo shoot, or you're trying to make weight for some kind of athletic endeavor, I think there would probably be some benefit. So you're getting those amino acids into the bloodstream through the nighttime, but you're also in a calorie deficit. So that same time, your body's going to be more inclined to want to, reach out and start breaking down muscle tissue for amino acids and energy during the night. So that's when it would probably have a greater impact in terms of real world benefits for having a slow digesting protein at night, like casein or cottage cheese or something like that, or just steak and rice. It takes your body like 6 to 8 hours to digest red meat fully anyway.
Thanks, Robert. Sorry about that. I thought you were done. OTT, diamond push-ups for triceps. Yeah, diamond push-ups are something that's an underrated variation. Yep. If you want a nice little superset for those of you that are at home, try triceps get-ups, which are basically you're pushing up with one hand and then going down into that plank position. Tricep get-ups are difficult, more difficult than they appear, and they'd be a nice little superset with diamond push-ups.
Yeah.
Thoughts on actual hack squats, knees over toes, heels up versus hack machine, assuming someone has worked up to it. Good question. I'm trying to see if I can find a video here for reference for those of you. Are we talking hack squats with the barbell, right? Barbell hack squats?
Yeah, I guess like a heels elevated squat almost.
I tried them. I could never do them. I mean, I could never do them without bumping my calves and hitting my hamstrings. It was a very clunky lift for me. I've never spent a lot of time with them. I don't program them. I'm not against them. But I hesitate to program them or either entertain them just because they don't work for a lot of people. And the bar's behind you, which puts you in a kind of an awkward leverage position. Look, dog, you can stop licking your ass, okay? We're on live video. Sorry. We have to have an intervention. Yeah. So if it works for you, great. If you're not feeling stress on your lower back, go for it. A hack squat machine is a completely different beast. I like the hack squat machine because you can really feel your working. And I have no experience with actual hack squats, but I assume despite the fact that they both share hacks, they play out very differently. Any thoughts, Robert?
No, and I almost wonder, like, is he talking about sissy squats maybe instead of hack squats or not? I mean, that's something else. Because if you're doing like a traditional sissy squat, not the sissy squat machines like you and I have, Steve, but your knees like roll onto the floor, you're up on the balls of your feet and your heels come off the ground, and then you kind of reverse the movement and stand back up. I think those are fine, provided you got healthy knees and you can work your way into it. I mean, the knee is designed to travel over the toes and like that. So,
hang tough for a minute. I'm going to research something from one of my clients who we were talking about a variation this week, and just bear with me. I want to show people this. because this is a variation. Nobody. Okay, the slant board squat. Okay, we're gonna.
Yeah, those are good.
The
Heels
slant board.
elevated squats. Yep.
No one ever talks about these. And what here? Where am I clicking? Sorry to be obnoxious about my dog, but sometimes she just sits over there licking her ass incessantly while I'm on this video, slurping like a pop.
We need to get video of the ass licking, Steve.
Now she's panting because the heater is on her and she's not smart enough to move. We're having a tough moment at the time. How to do a slant board squat. Watch this. And I got the video off, and we're going to kind of fast forward here a little bit. See it a little bit better. So watch the slant board. Your heel's a little bit elevated. And he's just showing here, because he did mention knees over toes. You can see the knees are well over the toes. I've not tried this personally. My client does it with a barbell on their back. I think I'd almost prefer to do it with a barbell, because dumbbells, as you sink, they kind of travel forward. But I don't know.
Yeah. What I've done with my my weight, I mean, this is kind of like similar to putting your putting a couple of like 2.5s or 5s under your heels and doing squats that way. Or what you could do, like I've got the power block bench here. I'll put my heels up on that and do front rack dumbbell squats here. Or I'll have kettlebells and I'll do kettlebell squats doing like that, and that lights your quads up like you wouldn't believe.
So Dave, if you could clarify if we missed anything, we're just kind of speaking in general terms. So I just had to scoot over and turn the heater off so my panting pit bull doesn't have a heart attack. Stein, do you think it would be to rotate week A, week B to get in more exercise? Yeah, absolutely. I like rotating exercises. I've always done this naturally anyway. Like I'll do barbell rows 1 week and dumbbell rows 1 week. And really on any training program, I think there's benefit to that. It prevents you from stagnating a little bit using the same exercises. And when we talk about the concept of regional hypertrophy, which is kind of a new entry into the, our mindset or our lifting think, it probably has benefit as well. Cat, I regressed on bench even though I eat enough, and I do 14 sets for chest a week. What's up? I'd have to look at your programming. A workout every now and then where you lose a rep it can happen. Your central nervous system might be fighting something from this crappy weather. You might be stressed. Sometimes we just underperform. Sometimes I go out and run and it feels like there's lead in my feet. And the next day there feels like there's springs in my feet.
Yep.
Why? Honestly, I have no fucking idea. And excuse my language, but I just don't.
Sleep stress could also be impacting things too.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, if you eat enough, everybody tells me they eat enough. Everybody tells me their training is good. When it comes to eat enough, are you consistent every single day? Or are you only consistent 3 out of 4 days? Because being consistent 3 out of 4 days is not enough. You need to be consistent 7 out of 7 days, especially if you want to take the bench press seriously. I can't tell you how many people that'll say my eating is good, my eating is normal, my eating is consistent, and it's not. So I would really like to look at that, and I'm not saying you do or don't do this, but be careful. If you tell me your eating is enough and your eating is consistent, send it to me, and I will shred it apart and tell you where it's broken, because that's what I do. All right, Scotty Mac, I used to get a bellyache after creatine, but it didn't take long to get over it. Again, correlation, causation. Well, you put something new into the gut microbiome, and sometimes there's an adjustment period. The gut microbiome is fluid. It's not static. Is that correct or incorrect, Robert?
Correct.
So adding something like that, there could be an initial period of time where it's like, what's up? Right?
Yep.
That's what it does. Like, what's up? All right, bad humor. Cody, how would you teach your intermediate level clients proper programming for powerlifting? Well, the first thing is they need to understand there's an off season. You don't just do low rep sets all the time. And the second, first time, make sure they can be consistent with their volume, and then the second thing I do is I program that volume appropriately. Like, not every set is intense. For squats, bench, and deadlift, I usually do 3s or 4s, where the first set is their heaviest set for max reps. And usually it's a 5 to 7 rep set, and then they back off 5 to 7.5% after that and do it max reps. So they're getting in volume on that lift, working on technique. Do I have any books for aspiring coaches? The thing with strength training is, if you think muscle building's a clusterfuck, get into the world of strength training. It's like clans, everybody trains differently. There are some, strength training really isn't much different than what I teach for muscle building or power building. You got to build up a muscle base, and you don't need to be using low rep sets. A lot of it is working on technique. So it's really, I do structure the assistance exercises a little bit more powerlifting focused. Maybe Dimmel deadlifts, maybe JM press for triceps, rather than more conventional hypertrophy exercises. So a very complex question to answer. I don't rely on books. Not that I'm against books, but I've just been around strength training my entire life. I've been around people that strength train. Where I was at Tiger Fitness Gym, we had 2 guys that were from West Side. Some of my friends compete at the Arnold in powerlifting. I've met Brian Carroll, Jay Bird, Pete Rubish, Paul Carter, the Lilla Bridges. They all train differently. They really do. But there are some principles that are really important. And the first off season. I have a video on this channel where I talk with Stan Efferding, and we talk about this. Have an off season for the love of God. You're going to beat your shit up. That's the biggest principle. Awakening the vacuity. I have to address the healthy eating is more expensive lie. It's not. It's way cheaper. I agree. It is way cheaper. Rice and eggs, man. I mean, rice and eggs, that's poverty level food, meaning it's super cheap.
Yep.
I mean, you can get like 60 eggs at Walmart for $3.50.
I bought a 25-pound bag of jasmine rice from Sam's here, and I think it was like $12.
To raise the minimum wage for chicken. I mean, because they're laying eggs at like a monster rate, and they're super cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. The thing that burns my ass, other than the fact that Awakening the Vacuity uses a stock photo as his avatar, it doesn't really burn me, but I just noticed that, by the way. It's when somebody comes to me asking for fat loss coaching, and then they respond, I don't have the budget for it. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go in my corner and cry because I'm not getting $80 a month from this particular person, but I know the average person that's obese spends money on Starbucks, on Cheddar chips, on Grubhub, on fast food, and all that money cumulatively over the course of a month. If they would just eat healthier and more refined, they would be able to save that money and without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, if somebody's not, what would you say, fiscally responsible, they're generally not responsible. Or if they're not responsible with their nutrition, they're generally not fiscally responsible with their nutrition. Does that make sense, Robert? So, Anyway, I just put Robert to sleep with my rambling.
No, I just had myself muted. It's I was knocking my coffee cup around.
Back to nature, girl. Sorry. Can creatine cause leg cramps? I have bad leg cramps at night.
I wouldn't think it's due to creatine. It's more likely due to a magnesium or electrolyte imbalance. Creatine is going to encourage your body to retain more water in the muscle cells. So if anything, it's enhancing hydration and helping prevent against cramping. So make sure you're drinking enough fluids during the day, and make sure you're getting enough magnesium and potassium in.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing we don't talk about enough is electrolyte intake. And electrolytes, when we say electrolytes, everybody thinks like Gatorade or whatever. But, magnesium, potassium, calcium, those are things that you have to make sure you're getting enough of. Yeah. And when I had fatty liver disease from being overweight, my liver wasn't processing minerals to the point it, for good health. So, Robert, I got a question that came up on Instagram, and I promised this person that I would ask the question on live video. So the question, leg cramps with creatine, that was her.
There we go.
Back to nature, girl. I was just going to ask you because I'm like, I thought it was the same question. And it said, did I get a chance? Leg cramps with creatine. That's it. So I was just, she beat me to it. Any comment on the Greg Doucette Alpha Destiny controversy? So correct me if I'm wrong, but Greg Doucette was basically saying, unless you have pretty good genetics, basically you're going to be mediocre, no matter how hard you train. Something like that. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea what manufactured controversy is at the forefront of this hour's YouTube cesspool.
Basically said Alpha Destiny has good genetics, and Alpha Destiny maybe said, I don't have good genetics, I work hard, and you can achieve good things too if you work hard. Look, I have shit genetics. I had man boobs when I was 8. I have small wrists. Saying Alpha Destiny has good genetics or I have good genetics, you can say that about anybody that's successful. I kind of lean with Alpha Destiny here, because I don't think most people train hard enough to even see what their potential is.
That I would agree 100% with that. People want to say, oh, well, I have bad genetics, but are you nailing your nutrition, your sleep, your training? Are you nailing all of that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? No. The people that do look great and that are the genetic responders or the high genetic ones, they're the ones that fucking nail all of that stuff day in, day out, regardless of what life throws their way.
I cannot stress this enough to those of you watching, and I want you to remember this point. If you only remember one thing I say before I fall off this fucking earth, and that is, I have been in this industry for a long time, and I have met with, trained with, interviewed, discussed a mountain of pro bodybuilders, top power lifters, transformation stories, YouTube celeries, every fucking body, from Frank Zane to training with Ronnie Coleman to training with not training with the Lillibirds, competing with the Lillibirds, the whole yards. And to a man, woman, every one of them is super fucking consistent. No bullshit wiggle room. They nail their nutrition like their life's on the line. They nail their training like their life's on the line. They are consistent relentlessly over a long period of time. No bull, no excuses. They get in, they grind for 10 plus years. Not a day off. They're puking. Maybe they take a day off. But if you do that, if you just learn one thing from me, it's if you want to know the secret to success in anything in life, lifting or whatever, it's that. Just get in the trenches and do what you do for 10 straight years. Me on YouTube. like 4 years ago, I had like 8,000 subscribers. I never stopped. I'm not pretty. I don't have six-pack abs. I do have big, juicy testicles. Let's get that straight. But it's like anything in life. I didn't start, like when I started writing, I wasn't a good writer. I love editing. I literally feel like I'm a good editor. It's from being relentless every single day. If you want to be good at anything, piano, art, being a movie critic, whatever it is, you got to refine work, but you have to be relentless every single day. And when it comes to this genetics argument, every successful person I know is relentless. Out the door, over the top, relentless, obsessed, borderline obsessed, relentless. And those people that aren't successful, you can staple that on their genetics, but they don't have that same level of commitment. And I wish there was a way to embody that into everybody I meet. But you cannot fake it. You cannot replace it. And if you want to be successful, you have to have it. And if you have it, it ain't going to matter what your damn genetics are. All right. I mixed my creatine into my pre-workout, and I agree with Robert on blue raspberry flavored subs. Had one once, was horrible. All
Sucks.
right. Sucks.
Overly sweet, insipid nastiness. Get blue raz out of here.
Does it taste like a toilet puck?
No, it's like this. It's just gross. It's my brain does not compute. I don't like it. Then like there's some permutations of the flavor. Like there'll be like Primeval Labs has a product called Smashberry where it's kind of like a hybrid of like a lemonade and blue raz and something else in there, and that's okay. And other companies have released like Electric Blue Lemonade, which is a hybrid of blue raz and lemonade, or pink lemonade and blue raspberry, or something like that. And those are tolerable, but like straight up blue raz, get that shit out of here. At least for me, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You know what I don't like, and I'd like to hear what you guys have to think. Like things that are banana flavored supplements, like they never taste like a banana to me.
No, they taste like runts, and I don't really like the runts bananas.
That's the only time in 10 years you're ever going to hear me do. Forget it. I bought your AB split. Will I be shredded in 22 days? You'll actually be shredded in 22 minutes. So check back and some before and after photos. Whoops, I almost put this kind of time up by accident. What's going on, Darren from the UK? Best split for intermediate lifters. Not really a best split. There are no bests. What you do is there are reasonable splits. Everything at a point for an intermediate lifter is going to be highly focused based on your experience. So most of my intermediate lifters start off with AB splits, flex schedules, and then some of them do pro splits. If they're into that sort of thing, if they're into that kinkiness. So not really a best. It's what's optimal for you. Everything I do for my clients is highly tailored 100% to them, their equipment, their injuries, etc. Supplement store where I live sell D-ribose and say that it may reinforce effective creatine by up to 50%. That's going to be, D-ribose is going to be in our product, Massive Creatine Plus. What say you, Robert?
I would say that D-ribose is going to complement the effects of creatine in terms of reinforcing ATP production. There's been a lot of studies, not necessarily from the exercise point of view. There's a couple of studies where D-ribose and creatine were used in ischemic heart patients, people suffering strokes and all that, and people with myocardium, so the muscle, like the actual heart muscle. And that combination has been used and shown to improve ATP production, energy metabolism, overall blood flow health, output of cardiac output, and those things. In terms of like actual muscle growth, there's not a study in exercise performance in that effect, but there's a reason why we combine those two ingredients in there. That's what we're saying, is that it's going to enhance the body's ability to produce ATP through a variety of mechanisms in that way. So I would like to see their research on the 50% thing. I haven't seen that exact study showing that it reinforced the effect of creatine by 50%. That sounds a little bit more like muscle tech marketing lingo from the early 2000s or late 90s. But there are a number of studies studying the combination of creatine and D-ribose together, especially when it comes to myocardial function.
All right. Thank you, Robert. The next question, I want you to hide the children, your pets, small animals. Okay. Will you see your abs even though you have loose skin? I was 346 pounds, lost 100 pounds. I have a little bit of loose skin, not a lot, a little. Under my, you can see it here, but I'm about to share my shirtless picture for all of you weirdos. Okay, so I once asked, like, here's me at 242. You can see the abs are starting to come in. You see under here, under my left arm, there's a little bit of loose skin. There's a little bit of loose skin under my pectorals. And there's a little bit of loose skin at the bottom. So on your abs, your loose skin tends to be at your lower level, where men tend to, that's the area where men tend to have body fat issues in general. And where the last bit of stomach fat is, like the lower level. And this up here, under the armpit, I tend to have a little bit of loose skin there. Yeah, you can see your abs even though you have loose skin. Loose skin's generally not over the top 4-pack, if that makes sense. All right. And I probably just shocked everybody, but yes, I have taken shirtless pictures before. Someone told me that push-ups is one of the most advanced exercises. Advanced? There are ways to advance them, but no, I wouldn't consider them an advanced exercise. Advanced exercise is something where technique is extremely important so you don't get jacked up. That's one aspect of it, not a complete, but, what are your thoughts on Robert, what would be considered an advanced exercise? Something more technical, something with a higher risk of injury?
Yeah, definitely that. Or like an advanced progression of a push-up, like a planche push-up, a one-arm push-up, a plyometric push-up. There are advanced variations of that. And, the push-up is a basic exercise, but most people that can say they can do 30, 40, 50 reps of push-ups in a set aren't doing push-ups properly to begin with. They're doing half reps. They're doing these little like micro motion things. Like you ever go to the Arnold, the Olympia, any of these fitness expos, and one of these supplement brands always has a fucking push-up contest. And you get the gym bros on there and they're doing this little boom, 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 and like they're clocking every little like micro movement, micro little bend in the elbow as a rep, and that's not a rep. Your rep is nipples to the ground and then fully locking out everything and then going all the way back down, not bouncing and all of that shit. So that's my rant on push-up technique and execution. But do I think it's an advanced exercise? No, but I still don't think most people are executing the basic push-up properly either.
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges with the push-up is that people are trying to get in as many reps as they can before like that fatigue sets in, before they start to get that burn and that fatigue. And when I do push-ups, I recommend doing a nice controlled eccentric. And when I press up, I focus on chest contraction. I do this a lot on more of my isolation-y, machine-y type of movements because the compound movements, have a lot of potential to beat up your joints and your body. When I'm doing non-compounds, I tend to I don't go Ryan Humiston or Frank Zane, but I feel that contraction and then I control it down. Not purposely slow-mo reps, but I control the weight rather than it just, and I think on push-ups, I like to do that as well because I don't want to beat up my joints. Brandon, thoughts on this split? Chest, chesticles, back, legs, shoulders. I'm not a fan of putting legs and shoulders on the same day. I'm not a fan of, unless it's an A-B split, where you are doing legs, shoulders, and you can do it twice a week and accommodate enough volume. I don't like that split because your chest is going to get 12 sets, your back's going to get 12 to 14, and then how are you going to get 12 quality sets on quads, 12 quality sets on shoulders, and then work in hamstrings, maybe face pulls, maybe calves. etc. Not a fan of that. I don't. That's one of my least favorite splits. Any thoughts, Robert?
Yeah, I would agree, especially the way that's structured. You're doing those 3 days and then repeating them. If you're doing shoulders on that third day and then you're going right the very next day into chest, your pressing strength is going to be limited because your shoulders are still going to be fatigued from the previous day's work. Unless your shoulder work includes just things like upright rows, face pulls, rear delt flies, and side laterals. I mean, if that's all your shoulder work is, then yeah, you could maybe structure it that way. But if you're doing any kind of overhead press, then your benching performance is going to be garbage that fourth day in that training split.
Yeah, there's other variables in here as well, like doing shoulders and chest back to back. There's too much crossover there. Doing back and legs back to back. You run if you're doing squats and or deadlift variations, it's not like, I hesitate to say optimal, but it's almost like cringe for me. It's just got too many things. There's too many better splits to run that split. How about that? Cody, question for Robert. Robert, we're getting all sciencey. Science, bitch. Robert, you've seen Breaking Bad, right? So I don't want the reference science, bitch, to go.
I have. Yeah. No, I saw that series. I very much enjoyed it.
What's your stance on data-driven strengths, stance on low RPE trading? Data-driven strength.
I don't know who or what that site is, and I'll go a little bit further. I'll say strength training is more Steve's wheelhouse. My interest is more on the hypertrophy side of things. All that being said, I'll venture an opinion on this matter, and that when your desire is purely strength building and not hypertrophy, like your emphasis is mostly on, you don't want to be training to failure. You want to stay fresh. You want those reps to be nice, crisp, clean, exploding off the floor, to where it's mostly neurological adaptations. You're not trying to drive yourself into the ground and get your muscles to a high level of fatigue as you are with hypertrophy training. So it would make sense that if you're doing a low RPE, then yeah, you're not trying to approach failure on your strength training sets. If you're going purely for strength, and if I'm saying something out of my ass here, Steve, then feel free to shoot me down. But this is my wheelhouse is not the strength training. It's hypertrophy stuff. But you don't want to be going to like a 9 or a 10 RPE unless you're in like a peaking program. But if like you're just in your normal acclimatization or accrual phases there, you're trying to stay a fair amount away from fatigue, so that way you can get in more volume over that way and get used to. You can do more 3-5 rep sets there.
All my clients, I balance the volume, and I don't like RPE training. I don't like using RPE, but the more early intermediate guys, they'll do like 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 10 on some of the lifts until I can see their consistency. And only the last set is pushed for max reps. So I don't do maximum, balls to the walls. So the first 3 sets, the RPE, if you're using that scale, would be a little bit lower. There's only 1 set per 1 exercise per week. That is a little bit more challenging. If you don't do 1 RPE, or where you're pushing that RPE or your exertion level a week, what's the gauge for progression?
Yeah.
So you have to have, at least in the real world, when you're training people, you have to give them 1 gun to head set a week. Or something reasonable, because if you don't, they're going to seek the path of least resistance. They're going to be like Bruce Lee, be like water. They're going to flow away from working hard. So you have to have some off-season training. You need to have some measuring stick, some way they're pushing themselves to get stronger with volume. So that's what I try to do. I don't know what these guys stand for. I do not overkill the high exertion sets, but I also need them to be building strength in the off season. So when it comes to peaking, we're ready to peak. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I work out in the morning, and sometimes it takes a while for my CNS to wake up. That's common. The CNS generally peaks somewhere around 3-4 p.m. Is that correct, Robert?
Yeah, mid-afternoon is usually when you're in kind of like your prime CNS peak levels.
The only thing I recommend for clients is to maybe have a little simple sugars before you work out to kind of make sure your energy levels are up there. Not a lot, a little. And do a few more warm-up sets. Give the central nervous system a reason to wake up. You're not doing rep sets here, like 5-7 rep sets. Doing a few more singles, a few more warm-ups, 2 sets with the bar, maybe an extra warm-up set here or there with lower reps. That's probably the best you could do. Is there anything else you think you could add in there, Robert?
Yeah, you could maybe do some low-level plyometrics, like do a low level of fatigue to where that helps with excitation of the nervous system as well. So if you're going in for your bench workout, do a few reps of plyo push-ups, or if you don't want to do them off the ground, you can like do them on a bench to where you're on an incline. You can just really pop and make them real crisp and clean. I'm talking like 5 reps, 3-5 reps, rest another minute or 2, and you can do another set of that. You can do 2 or 3 sets of that. For squats, you could do some jump squats just to kind of fire up your nervous system. That helps kind of get everything, clicking on all cylinders a little bit more. And before back workouts, you could do something like a med ball slam or like an explosive kind of like resistance band row or cable row, just super lightweight, but just something that you can move really fast. And that kind of helps get everything, churning and burning a little bit quicker.
All right. So the next question, I believe it has to do with the soleus and calf growth. There's we're going to dive into a calf training question, and most of the experts that I consider experts when it comes to growing calves talk about the soleus and seated calf raises. Okay, so what I have had luck doing with my clients, if you are trying to grow your calves, is doing seated calf raises, and you can actually do these at home with a barbell on your knees, put a little pillow or whatever, brings you comfort and joy. And do 3 sets of 12 to 15, where you control the rep up, hold it, and then lower it over a 3-second period of time. So move the rep up, not explosive, but at a normal rate. Reasonably controlled normal weight, not slow, not purposely slow, but just not super speedy. And then control the rep down 3 seconds. Do 3 sets of 12 to 15 twice a week. I had a couple clients, more than a couple clients on this protocol. One of them saw an inch of calf gains in under 6 months. That's pretty substantial. I will say that when it comes to calves, most people with small, weak calves don't train them hard. And, I will reference Mark Lobliner, who doesn't have the world's best calves. Mark, I've never seen you ever train calves. I haven't. Maybe he does in secret at night, late at night in the dark. But, when's the last time if you have small calves, that you've dedicated an entire year to it? So, 100 body weight calf raises the next day. I mean, that might be a good superset with what I just talked about. I'm not sure that if you have small genetic calves, that just doing body weight ad infinitum is going to do much. Any thoughts, Robert?
No, you pretty much nailed anything I was going to say on the issue.
Just think soleus, think seated calf raises.
Yeah, if you can go through some kind of extended range of motion too, like in addition to the seated calf raise, if you can elevate your toes on something to get a little bit greater stretch at the bottom. So like if you're just doing normal calf raises, your foot's going to stop at the where the plane of the ground is. If you can elevate your toes on, you'll get a little bit more stretch on your calf muscles, or you can go do single leg calf raises as well off a step or a stair or something like that if you got that around the house.
Wish I could think of the video where I initially got this idea from, but I know more than a few people are in that same pipeline. How would you structure a program for insomniacs wanting to get bigger and stronger? You mean anybody that has kids, right? No different. I mean, anybody that's have kids doesn't really sleep for 10 years. So Robert, how's your sleep with a little one?
No issues. I mean, she's been sleeping through the night since like 10 weeks old. Every now and then there'll be a random thing. Like if she's going through a growth spurt, she'll have some restless nights. But man, she sleeps like a champ. I got woken up at 1:30 this morning because she said she pooped. But I mean, that was about it. Most other nights, I have more of an issue. I'm more of the cause of my sleep issues than my 3-year-old is, and it's always been that way. My brain's always abuzz with activity and ideas and stuff like that. So I can't blame the 3-year-old for my sleep issues.
I spent 5 years in healthcare doing a mobile hearing unit, and I would go to factories and I'd have to train everybody at the factory. I'd go to plants. I'd go to whatever. I'd have to do hearing tests and train everybody. And it was 18, 20-hour days where I'd start at like 4 in the morning. And then the next day I'd have to come in and do the same thing. A lot of sleep deprivation. Mm-hmm. And then I've also spent a couple of years as a machinist where I was lifting all day long, physically exhausting work. And in both cases, I've run the same type of programming and just changed my diet. But I've never seen there's no special programs, for any of this. You do have to adjust things accordingly so you don't get hurt. But no real special way of programming. Nigel, doing a 5-day upper push, upper pull, lower push, upper accessory, lower pull. Can move the 2 rest days around as needed. Yeah, keep the rest days intuitive. 5 days a week is about the max you want to train. I like to say keep the rest days natural and intuitive. Ahmad, Robert, I'm going to toss this one your way. Thoughts on diet soda?
I enjoy them regularly. I have no issues with them. There's some concern possibly for the acid that's in there for having some deleterious effects on tooth enamel. But if you're not guzzling it by the gallon each day, all day, every day, and you're maintaining other good oral hygiene habits, then there's probably no big effect. Like as long as you're not taking a sip of soda and swishing it around your mouth like you would mouthwash, you're doing that all day, every day, then you're probably fine from like a dental health standpoint. Do you need to worry about the artificial sweeteners in there? Within reason, no, because it's the dose that makes the poison. You drink too much water, you can kill yourself that way too. So I have no qualms with diet soda. It's delicious. I enjoy them regularly, and I have no reservations about that. Plus, it's a hell of a lot better thing to drink than just something like a can of Coke that's got 42 grams of pure sugar coming your way. So if it's a source of 0 calories, that can also help you feel a little bit fuller, and it's cutting some processed sugars out of your diet.
No, I've raised my energy drink, and for all intents and purposes, this is it's carbonated. Yeah. It has artificial sweeteners, just a different beast. There are some people that chatter out there about how it destroys the gut microbiome and leads to weight gain, etc. I mean, let's be real. Who here? How many obese people is there weight drinking diet sodas? I mean, let's be honest.
Well, and that a lot of the dysfunctional gut microbiome stuff, that's failing to take into account the dysfunction that was already present in their microbiome due to their years of abusing food and already being obese, because that's been shown to disrupt the gut microbiome. So trying to throw artificial sweeteners into something that's already dysfunctioning and blaming the artificial sweeteners for it doesn't really seem really on point.
So much of this stuff in diet and nutrition and fitness breaks down when you apply common sense. Fernando, I know you advise 9 to 12 sets per week for major muscles, but to me, after 3 to 4 exercises, I'm gassed. My main advice is I get some clients like this. They're not used to training that hard. You got to suck it up. You got to. I mean, we know what drives hypertrophy. You need a reasonable amount of volume, which is tied to a reasonable amount of mechanical tension or time under tension or stress on the muscle. You don't want to be doing training to failure or close to failure. If you're a beginner and the weight's relatively light and you're doing something like the rep goal system and you're gassed, honestly, you got to suck it the fuck up. You just got to suck it up, and you got to do what you need to do to get the results you want to get. Honestly, and I'm saying this with love, I really don't give a shit if you're gassed. Do the fucking work. That's like saying a football player that comes to practice, after the first drill, I'm gassed. I don't give a fuck. There's a quote by David Goggins that says, when you feel that point where you're gassed, where you're toast, where you're done, you're only about 40% at your full capacity the body can achieve. And anything that ultra running has taught me, and I'm not trying to be hard on you, Fernando, but I'm trying to challenge you. When I think I'm done, I'm not anywhere near done. Not any your brain's trying to shut you down, or your body's trying to shut you down. You can do a lot more. To get to where you want to go, you have to do what we know you have to do. So I say with love, I do not give a shit if you're feeling gassed. Do the work. And that's what you have to say to yourself in the mirror. That's what I say to myself every single day. When I'm sitting here on a live video after 2.5 hours and I got to go run for 2 hours, like I'm gassed after half an hour. I say to myself, it doesn't fucking matter. Go do the work. All right. And to that note, Graybeard, be a bulldozer. Exactly. Slow, low, steady. All right. Andreas Villanova says, drill me. I will take a hard pass. I like women. I'm married. I'll pass on the drill me. Robert, how about you?
Ditto.
All right. Thanks. And good luck with your fishing, trolling elsewhere. You have won a free trip to, where are we at? You have won a free trip to Blocksville. Does Robert have a fitness channel? Robert, where can you be found?
Supplementengineer.com, Supplement Engineer YouTube, the Supplement Engineer at gmail.com, Supplement Engineer Podcast, the Final Scoop Podcast, both of which are on the Supplement Engineer YouTube channel as well.
All right. How can I hit chest without a bench?
Do this. There you
go. All right. That's what happens when we get to 2 hours and 15 minutes. Floor press. You can do push-ups supersetted with floor press. You can do controlled push-ups, dips if you have I don't have equipment, a set of dumbbells. You can do rest pause dumbbells. Oh, you don't have a barbell. Floor dumbbell press, dumbbell rest pause work, supersetted with push-ups. What else am I missing here, Robert? What else could we do for chest?
You got dips. You got decline push-ups where you put your feet on a chair. You can do extended range of motion push-ups. So put your hands on two books, and then that way you can get a little bit greater stretch on the pec. So instead of your chest hitting the floor, your hands, your chest will actually be able to go below the plane of your hands are, since they're elevated up on like a thick phone book or a hardback book or textbook or something like that. Weighted push-ups, archer push-ups, one-arm push-ups, sliding, like floor fly kind of push-ups. You could also buy a suspension trainer and do suspension trainer flies. Dips, I already said that. I mean, you can do a lot of damage to your pectorals with just push-ups, body weight exercises. It's just a matter of putting in the time and effort to progress those push-ups and become proficient at those movement patterns. And if you only have dumbbells, I mean, you can do floor presses, you can do incline presses. Well, no bench. Okay, so floor presses definitely. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, and when it comes to rest pause work, block sets are a good way to do rest pause in a stupid simple way. Yeah. Like time it for a minute. I'm going to do as many reps as I can in a minute. I'm going to rest as I need to. If you have to let the dumbbells just sit there for a moment or whatever, you can move up to a minute, 15 seconds up. Really good way to work in rest pause work. You just stop briefly as you need, but then keep going. All right. Extremely frustrated with strength loss after weight loss. Sorry. I lost 130 pounds off my bench and nearly 280 pounds off my squat when I lost 100 pounds. It's life, man. But a cut isn't forever. That's the thing. You know, if I had some magic way to help you maintain strength while losing weight, if there was a magic way to maintain strength while losing weight, every strong man in the world would get super strong. Then they would lose 100 pounds, and then they would build up more strength, adding that 100 pounds back. So, you know, it's conflicting goals. It's just part of life. I did get stronger after I lost the weight, though. Could you replace squats? No. There's no replacement for squats. With static lunges, basically training one leg at a time without major drawbacks. If you're going to, we have to look at a program in its totality. You can swap any exercise for any other exercise, but you still have to look at a program in its totality to determine if it has enough this, that, or the other thing. So, can you replace squats with lunges? You can replace squats with anything, but your program still has to be well structured, well thought out, and challenging. So, anything to add to that, Robert?
Yeah, I guess a couple of things. I would say, static lunges, I guess he means like a split squat or a Bulgarian split squat. From the research side of things, there's been shown to be equivalent activation in the quadriceps, comparing a standard back squat to a Bulgarian split squat. There's also less spinal loading. Really, does it replace the squats? No. Could it be an effective substitute exercise for hypertrophy? Yes, but that's going to be more dictated by your ability to increase load over time. Are you challenging the sets a lot? Most of the time, people aren't getting enough from split squats, lunges, and Bulgarian split squats because they're either going too light, they're not taking them to a high level of fatigue, or using a challenging enough weight, or they're doing like these real, like the booty girl Instagram things where they've got their leg really hard, like on a chair that behind them that's way too high, putting them in like super hyper extending the low back and stuff, and just limiting their range of motion right there. But you could definitely build a solid set of legs using a Bulgarian split squat as the primary leg exercise. I would still put some kind of squatting pattern in there, like if you want to put it for like the back end. So say you kind of flip the order on your leg workout. You start with heavy single leg work first, and it's going to take some time to get used to doing single leg work, especially if you're not used to doing a lot of that, because there's some stability stuff that you got to deal with and balance issues at first. But if you can overload those heavy enough, and then you can, backfill that in with some type of squat pattern, be it a goblet squat, a front squat, landmine squat, hack squat, leg press, something like that. On the back end, yeah, I think you can do that. But is it like a one-to-one replacement? No, you got to look, like Steve said, the totality of the program and what angles, force vectors you're attacking the muscle with.
When I personally, when I program for clients or doing them myself, when I do things like lunges or split squats or whatever, I tend to superset them. Like, for example, alternating lunges or reverse lunges, superset with pause jump squats or things like that. I like to increase the intensity because there's not room to increase the progression necessarily. Tree Fitty, that's what it costs for 60 eggs at Wally World. How do I stop drinking beer? It became a macronutrient. I have a magical new, where is it located on my website? Challenge. It's called the Massive Lifestyle Challenge.
I know you dumped all the beer, you said, Steve. Did you also dump that Whistle Pig down the drain too?
Oh, I finished that after 2 years.
Oh, okay, good. I was going to say, please don't tell me you threw that down the drain.
No, I would. That's $130 a bottle. They only drain. That's getting dumped down into my stomach. I only dumped the beer. I didn't dump the good alcohol. So no worries there. So I have a lifestyle challenge we're doing right now, me and my wife. Basically, our 100-mile run is in October ish, depending on this COVID crap. And we're trying to maximize our health and our performance. And we have a challenge that we're running called Beat the BHUD Massive Lifestyle Challenge. I'm not drinking alcohol until October. And I want to see if you guys can make it 30, 60, 90, or 180 days. So come join us. We got guys on the forum that are doing it, that have started logs. It's basically no alcohol, no fast food. You have to monitor and hit your calorie goal each day, do some resistance training and some activity each week. If you hit 30 days, you get this little bronze medal. We got them all here, actually. We got all these medals. And it's a silly medal, but it's no different than signing up for a 5K and getting a medal. But you got to stop that crap. I was talking I have a forum where I train trainers, and I was talking about alcohol. People that have 10 drinks a week, 15 to 2,500 extra calories a week that's hard to that's completely messing your diet up and your health up. It's too much. And at some point you need to pull up those big boy or big girl panties and strap boots and get to work and say, I need to have some rules in my life or else I'm going to be unhealthy. Jackson, LOL, hired. Amanda, causes of shoulder pain during dumbbell bicep curls. Are we talking are we talking soreness? Because when you curl, you can have some stress on the shoulders. You can get some.
Yeah,
some
might be where the bicep tendon is inserting into the shoulder joint up there. That's why. And what I'm led to believe is that you're probably going too heavy, and you're starting to get more stress on. Like you're letting your elbow come forward, and you're starting to get more of the flexion in the shoulder joint coming in there as well, and so that's where it's putting the extra strain on the that you probably need to lower the weight and work in a higher rep range, or change your grip maybe too. Instead of doing supinated, maybe try to go to a more neutral grip.
Robert, here's a delightful question we answered in our. I have a creatine masterclass on the website, and it's available for free to anybody that joins the Massive Iron Insider, which is located above my head. But the masterclass, if you go over to my website, where is the masterclass located? Under no. My goodness, I have to figure out where I put it. But the masterclass is just search creatine under my search at my site. There's a masterclass available to listen to. It is packed full of information. No, creatine does not cause hair loss, and that is covered in the masterclass. Robert, can you give us a brief 1 second opinion on that?
No.
Okay. It does not cause hair loss.
Nope.
Back pulls on workout B. Do bulldozers 3x10 on this? Rack pulls are a back exercise, lower back, upper back, traps. Bulldozers are split is really not sure I understand the question. So, Luke, thanks. I appreciate the advice. Thank you. Art, for calves, I do treadmill, incline. That's my warm up before working out. There's a lot of people that have small calves. That's good for general conditioning, but I wouldn't consider it a magic cure by any means for that. For calf growth, why do bodybuilders drink energy drinks when they focus on healthy eating? Water should be. I mean, who doesn't want a little bit of taste? I'm just being honest.
I mean, there's nothing unhealthy inherently about an energy drink. It's caffeine, it's water. I mean, the first thing, look at Steve, read the ingredients on your energy drink right there. The first ingredient should be water. Yeah,
it is. Sorry, I'm getting a bad reflection. Water, citric acid, and then taurine. Sodium.
Yeah, exactly. So, taurine is a hydrating. It's a conditionally essential amino acid that acts as an antioxidant and as an osmolytic in the body. So it encourages your cells to soak up more water. So, I mean, is there anything? Are you guzzling 15 energy drinks a day? Yeah, don't do that. That's way too much caffeine, probably for most people, and you're displacing some other good sources of water in the diet. But having 1 or 2 energy drinks a day, there's no real big issue with that. They're doing enough other healthy stuff, and most bodybuilders are lugging around a gallon of water anyway and drinking that. So, I mean, if energy drink or coffee, they both contain water and they both got caffeine in it. There's more antioxidants in coffee than energy drinks, but I don't think that they're committing a cardinal sin or any means of that. So,
yeah, I mean, basically anything you put in your body, as long as you're not doing some extreme amount, is not going to be unhealthy. I mean, bodybuilding is a sport, but it's also a pursuit. Anybody at the gym that's after muscle building, you can consider it bodybuilding, and as long as you're limiting it. The biggest thing I'm concerned about when it comes to energy drinks is the overabuse of like a diet soda. Is how much caffeine are you getting a day? There was a report once where I think Mr. Donald Trump was drinking like a 12-pack of Diet Coke or some crap a day. Like that's a lot of caffeine, But
Yeah, there's 40 something milligrams per can of Diet Coke, I think. The 40 times 12, so that's 400, a little over 500, maybe 600 milligrams of caffeine in a day. I mean, I know people that are well over a gram of caffeine a day. It's not saying it's optimal, but I mean, we're not approaching any toxic thresholds either, especially if you're a habitual caffeine consumer.
So Vegan Gain says, I saw there are 69 people watching the stream, so I had to join. That is a very good reason to join. And if we get to 100, on the 69 theme, Robert is going to take off his shirt and do some peck dancing.
Good thing I have 2 shirts. I only have to take off 1 shirt. There we go.
Yeah, we got the loophole here. Greetings from Staten Island, New York. What's going on, New York? Fernando, maybe a conditioning issue. Probably need some duck eggs. Yeah, duck eggs, more duck eggs, I would say. Fried duck eggs, duck egg omelets. And Fernando, I appreciate you taking my response, well, because look, I mean, most of us could do with a bucket of suck it the fuck up, and you just got to suck it up sometimes to get to where you want to go. Chris Ryan, hopefully my question went through. I've been trying for weeks. I got this. It's funny when we get somebody who's saying, where's my question? And then they say, you can't see my question. It's funny. YouTube does this every week.
Yep.
We can see the question about the question, but not the question. And somebody was skipping ahead. Somebody said, can we ask gear questions? No, this isn't a steroid channel. I don't know more about gear than you know about gear. Some people out there think I abuse gear. That's the most ridiculous shit in the world. I mean, it's funny, and I'm gonna drop this down for a second. Back when I was around 1,850, 1,900 pound total, at 346, there had only been 80 lifters in the world that had reached a 2,000 pound total. Now everybody's doing it. I mean, now it's ridiculous the amount of numbers being put up at the average meets. The powerlifting world has changed dramatically. Back in my day, everybody thought I was just abusing drugs to get there. And when I said ridiculous, but now you have like natural federations that are crushing my totals. People that are lighter than me. I had a guy from the Muscle and Brawn Forum that he put up a total that equaled my powerlifting total, and the dude was like 198 pounds. And I know the dude's natural. I'm like, I quit because what used to be strong 5 years ago isn't strong now. So, no, we don't do gear questions, and I'm not going to be harsh about them. But, this is about health and fitness. We'll talk about T questions, general TRT questions, but, I don't know shit about Arimidex. I don't know shit about steroid cycles. I know what some people use. I know I've been in rooms and I know what some power lifters use per day. But so that stuff is way out of my lane.
And it's going to be highly individually. Just because somebody else's cycle doesn't mean it's going to be the same for another person too. Because you got genetics, height, weight, age, experience. What have they used before? What are they coming off of? I mean, it's not like, hey, XYZ lifter off the street, here's your stack, like go run it. It doesn't work like that.
I have friends that are that use. I mean, there's difference between TRT and use. Obviously, I have friends that use. I don't ask my friends, what do you use? When I have somebody on the channel that is like, I've had people on here that are Olympians or top level power lifters. I don't ask them what they use. I don't really care. It's not something I'm passionate about. Question not going through. It did go through. We did have a question about metabolic damage. We covered it earlier. I hope you were able to see that. If not, it was much earlier in the live video. I really would recommend joining the challenge. There's a lot of quality information on the forum. He is actually part of the Massive Lifestyle Challenge, and thank you. I appreciate you. People ask why did I pay a few bucks to join the challenge? Well, number one, we're giving out medals and shipping medals. So that comes, and number two, you're getting on my private app and my private forum, and that doesn't come for free. I mean, I have to pay like a $1.99 to have people on my app, et cetera. So there's some hidden costs. I'm just trying to cover that cost.
Well, there's also the personal investment. Like if you give something for free, the person, like if you could just sign up for free, there's not much at stake or, for the person to do it. But hey, if you have to charge $30 for this, you're going to want to try and get your $30 worth of investment that you put into doing the challenge. So there's more incentive and more motivation on the onus is on you now, since you've already committed financially to it, to see the fruition of your investment.
Yeah. The thing is with the massive lifestyle challenge, it's $29.99 to enter, but you get medals. You can get multiple medals. If you complete 180 days, you get all 4 medals. There's a cost of the medals. There's a cost of shipping them. So we had to build that all in. If you finish 30 days, I'm going to ship you the 30-day medal right away. When you reach 60 days, I'm going to ship you the 60-day medal right away. So it's not like I'm trying to bring in fat stacks here. I'm just trying to find some price. We can actually ship the medals without charging you, etc. So I hope that makes sense. And it gets you some skin in the game, like Robert says. What's going on, Julio? Thinking about going back to school. Any high-paying career ideas related to health and fitness? If you go back to, I coach Special Olympics with the Cincinnati Reds strength coach. There's some good paying stuff out there. Minor league strength coaches, rehab for sports teams. There's all kinds of stuff. High paying, comfortably paying jobs in health and fitness. I wouldn't necessarily go to be a trainer. You're better off developing an online personality and becoming an online trainer that way. So, Robert, any thoughts on that?
Just something that kind of sticks out to me. The fact that he's prefacing, the way he's phrased the question leads me to believe he's not actually passionate about health and fitness or kinesiology. Like, he likes that as a hobby, but the fact that it's like, hey, what can I do that's high paying? Leading with that, that should not be the impetus for you jumping into a career. You should want to jump into a line of work because you're passionate about it. You have a fervent energy to pursue it, understand it, own it, live, breathe, eat, and shit it every day. The fact that you want to do, and then so many of Sandy's students that she teaches struggle with this. It's like, well, I don't know what I want to do for college. I just want something that pays me a lot of money. You know what that's going to do? Sure, you'll get your degree, you'll get into the job, you'll make a nice salary for a couple of years. You will fucking hate your life because you'll be focused so much on that instead of finding enjoyment in wealth. The money will come. Find something you are super passionate about, that you enjoy, that you wake up excited. It doesn't feel like you're going to work. The money will come as you do that because you're going to be putting the best quality effort into that instead of chasing some job that just pays you a bunch of money. And then you're going to give it half-ass effort because you're not actually interested in it. You're just chasing a paycheck and you're going to feel unfulfilled, empty, and be stressed. And this is coming from somebody that was making over $80,000 a year in engineering, super comfortable job. And I fucking hated it by the end. I was ready to quit. And that's when I left and started writing in the fitness industry, making only $1,000 a month. So, yeah.
I want to give you guys some encouragement and some things to think about. Robert, you still have some time. We're almost done here. I didn't want to drag
man,
you.
I'm good.
So I started, when I got laid off from my machinist job, I started muscleandbrawn.com in 2007, 2006. I don't remember. I did something I loved, and I did it with all the passion and drive and energy I could. And I didn't do it for money. I did it because I'm going to do something in my life I love. And over time, I developed into one of the top editors in the fitness industry. I've had the pleasure of working with other people and helping them develop writing careers like Robert, and then leading to this. I helped Alan Roberts get going. Alan came to me with 4,000 subscribers, and I planted some seeds with him, and I told him what to do. I've helped other people do that, and I can help you do that as well. And here's how to do it. Whatever you love, go start a website about it. Hey, we're trying to talk, you assholes. They're having a rag fight over here, my 2 dogs. Get out of here, pal. Whatever you love, start a website about it. Start writing about it. Start doing tips. Start a YouTube video about it. Rocket League. I love playing that video game. My wife would probably say too much. When I get my free time at night, I'll play it for like a half an hour. There are people out there that make money coaching video games. Rocket League videos on YouTube, some of these guys got 1 million views. You know how much money that makes them? And that YouTube ad revenue? $2-3 grand a video. Do what you love. Do what you love and the money will follow. That's it. Justin, what's your thoughts on deloading by only cutting down on the volume, but maintaining a decent level of intensity? I don't like, we talk about this a lot. I don't like about doing a full week plan deload. Save it for when you're sick, when you got a special event, when you got vacation. Take that off as your deload time, or when your body feels beat up. But if your body feels beat up, take it day to day. Don't just say, I'm going to take a week off. If you're going to take time off the gym, you need to truly deload, and that is intensity and volume. Cut down a set per exercise, cut down the weight 20, 25, 30%, deload. Allow your body to recover. If not, what are you doing? If you're just going to drop a set but keep the same intensity, I'm going to argue that it's not much of a deload at all. Any thoughts, Robert?
No, I mean, I pretty much echo all those of the sentiments that you just said, Steve. It's a balance of striking, reducing total volume, because that's going to contribute to fatigue, especially like the wear and tear on the joints, ligaments, connective tissue, let alone like the muscle recovery, because we know muscles recover faster than all the supporting structures. Decent level of intensity. Yeah, you could still lift like relatively heavy, but let's say like you're lifting your 10 rep max. Don't go all the way to 10 reps. Go to like 6 reps. To where you're dialing back the relative intensity and the volume there, but you're still lifting a somewhat challenging weight. So, I mean, there's a bunch of ways you can skin the cat. It's just kind of what allows you to deload effectively and get the desired effect without pushing yourself too hard.
And Justin, I want to apologize because my brain skipped over the word decent. If you drop a set and you drop the weight a little bit, yeah, I mean, I don't tell my clients, like if you're squatting 300, you can go in and squat 230, 240. There's just, don't, Peanut, will you stop licking your ass? Good grief, it's like Dogapalooza in here today. But, pounds, 10%, it's not a lot of intensity drop. If you're going to do a deload, make it count, really give your body a chance. I have to do a deload week every 4th week in running, and I don't like to do it, but I come back stronger, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Terrence, what's going on? How's it going? I apologize, guys. I got dogs licking asses, dogs fighting over rags, dogs barking. It's a dog show today. I meant to do on rack pulls. Do I do bulldozer sets? Oh, I thought you meant bulldozer laterals. Sorry. On rack pulls or regular sets. You can do bulldozer on rack pulls because it's not do this. It depends on the height. I mean, if you're doing like right below the knee rack pulls, then maybe. But if it's lower to the ground, like 3 inches, that's too much lower back stress. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Can you touch in when to eat around a workout? You don't want to go into a workout with a full stomach because then you're going to have food digestion issues. You have blood is in your stomach trying to digest the food, not going to the muscles as efficiently. I eat a light meal. I eat like 300-400 calories, 2.5 hours out or so. And then if I'm hurting, I'll eat a little simple sugars. So any thoughts, Robert?
Yeah, it's kind of depend on, how your individual digestion is and what the meal is and how far out are you training from that. So we'll back out. We'll say like 2 to 3 hours out, you can have a bigger meal that's got more protein, more fat, more carbs, more fiber in it. So, you could have eggs and toast and bacon and some, steamed spinach if you want to. You have that 2.5 to 3 hours out. That'll give plenty of time because the fats and the fiber and the high protein content are going to make it digest more slowly. We're getting inside that 1 to 2 hour window before a training, something that has less fat and less fiber in it. So maybe just like a bowl of oatmeal or cream of rice with a scoop of protein powder in it. we're getting within 60 minutes of your training session, maybe some just fast digesting carbs and a whey protein shake, and that's it. You want something that's going to be really quick in and out of your system. We're inside of 30 minutes, maybe a banana and a whey protein shake, maybe just some dextrose and some essential amino acids. Really, it's going to kind of depend on, and we also can't just focus on what's going on directly before the workout. Think of your nutrition as a 24-hour thing. So many people focus on what's the best intro, what's the best post-workout shake. And, I would argue, and there's a bunch of other people that would say this too, is like the need for that intro or immediate post-workout shake is greatly decreased in its importance or magnitude of effect if the rest of your nutrition the other 24 hours a day are up to point. So plus, and I'll do a plug for us, Steve and I have a masterclass on proper muscle building nutrition that goes over all of this in much greater detail than we could do here, where I think it's like an 1.5-hour video on how to structure your protein, carbs, and fats throughout the day. And then we get into some peri-workout timing as well.
Yeah. And the master classes are free when you join the Insider, which is located above my head. It's only $24.99 a month. And you can also just buy the master classes. They're like a seminar. It's $50, but the amount of information you get is immense.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip real quick. You're past my question. We're not seeing the question. Sometimes YouTube does that. There's a chance your question's too long and YouTube is bonking it. So maybe try again, because I can see that. Maybe shorten your question up a little bit and try that. So if we get 200 people, both you and Robert will take off your shirts. I just showed you a picture of me with my shirt off. But if we get to 200 people, Robert will take your shirt off, and I will pay for you to have a Pornhub premium subscription. If I could figure, that's
one of these days we are going to hit over 100, Steve, and you will have built this up over the weeks, and I'm just not going to do it. I don't know I'm not even going to go. There's a few other things I would enumerate on. I'm just not going to. It would show how sad my life is.
And Ryan, said he'd have to relax about Ryan's the one that asked the question about can we ask your questions? And I hesitate to put anybody's picture or name up there, with a gear question, but I just, I only stay in my lane on this channel. When people ask me about foam rolling or mobility work, I don't know, right? And it's not my area of expertise. So, it's like asking me how to do yoga. I don't know. It's just not.
Well, yeah. I mean, the way he put his rebuttal, it made it seem like we were the ones being out of line. And I don't feel like we came across aggressive or anything. We just said, look, that's not what we discuss on this channel. It's an individual thing. So you don't need to tell us to chill out, bro.
Yeah, it's like asking me about hockey, to do a hockey game analysis. Like they slapped the puck, they scored a goal. That's about all. That's all you're going to get out of me. All right, Murphy. I liked your special in 1989 or whatever. I'm 17 years old and I want to compete. How do I find an event? Naturalbodybuildingevents.com. Naturalbodybuildingevents.com used to be a site. I don't even know if it's. I
got one pulled up here. It's worldnaturalbb.com, and that's for the INBF and the WNBF, so the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, and I'm not trying to brush you off, but if you search natural bodybuilding events, you're going to get like 4 or 5 sites that have links.
Yeah.
And go follow the federations. Search Natural Bodybuilding Federations on Facebook, and you'll just follow them.
Yeah.
Learn, watch. Any hobbies you guys would want to do if you had time? One day I dream of, when I retire, opening a cigar and a beer club where, like, tearing this shit down, who needs to work out anymore? I'm just going to have each month a special cigar and just expensive beer, stuff that I like to drink, not crap beer. And, if I had time, that would be a passion project. I like cigars. I like beer. So, and I don't know. I love comic books from the 25-cent era, and I love collecting lifting books like this. I wish I had more time to read. How about you, Robert?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been reading a lot more lately. I've always loved to read, even since I was a kid. I was a voracious reader. I would probably do that even more than I do now. I would also, like you mentioned, Steve, the beer and cigar bar. That is something that I've always liked to cook and entertain for people. Like, I love feeding people through food and mixing cocktails. So anytime we have a holiday get together, I always, after we finish dinner, I go, if I'm not having a hand in cooking the dinner, I always man the cocktail bar and do all that kind of stuff afterwards. So I would do like a Tom Cruise cocktails and dreams thing, set up my own little, not kind of like coffee and cocktail bar or something, or like a bourbon thing. And I'd actually like to get into, I'd like to volunteer at like the local distillery. Iron Wolf has started open up bottling to the public. So like you can go there on the weekends and help them bottle all their spirits. So I think I'm going to go start doing that on Saturday mornings now, because they do it, or no, Sunday mornings. They do it from 11 to 2 on Sundays. So I think I'm going to start doing that in the coming months.
If I retired or won the lottery, I used to write children's books. I love to write fiction, and I would probably, if I didn't have to worry about earning a living, I would probably just write workouts and children's books for a living, because I really like programming. I wish I had more. Like, my biggest source of not frustration but time crunch is I wish I had more time to do programs, because I like to come up with unique ideas and ways to train.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's roll through these. Gym's opening 12th in the UK. Yep, all my clients are finally excited, and I'm excited for them. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Stein. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Bree. I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Julio. Loving the info. Thank you. I'm 43, decided to do Massive 6 after years of program hopping. My workouts are lasting an hour and 20 minutes. Should I take less rest between sets? 75 minutes is kind of the cutoff. When my clients get to 75 minutes, I'm like, what can we snip and tip or snip or, lop off? So borderline, as long as it's not causing you issues, no. The only thing I'll say is on your isolation exercises or your less intense exercises, try to maybe clip the rest in between sets down to about a minute. And thank you, Michael. And Sailor, we got your question. Your opinion on water retention misconception with tracking weight progression in lean bulk. Anybody that tracks their weight daily, and I have my clients do it twice a week, you'll see water spikes up and down, up and down, up and down. Unless you eat the same foods, have sex at the same amount every day, have stress the same, eat the same water, go to the bathroom at the same time, the same carbs, same electrolytes, and all the stars align, you're going to see water retention and release. That's normal. Nobody weighs the same every day, and those fluctuations are not fat or muscle, they're water. So I don't know what you mean about misconception, but in a lean bulk, you're going to see ups and downs. And when I'm monitoring the weight of my lean bulking clients, we have to not look at day in and day out. We have to analyze weeks and months. Anything to add to that, Robert?
Nope. You got all of that. Everything I was going to say more.
Trying to break my question into 2 parts so it goes through. I hope it does. I think it did, Chris. Missed me out again. If we miss your questions, we're just shorten them up a little bit. YouTube is more friendly with that. Do you guys have advice for middle-aged beginner trainer? I've exhausted myself a couple times during 8 months, so I realize I can't train as hard. The big thing I would say is hire me as a coach. I'd love to help and bring somebody on who can figure out what is going on. If you're training too hard, you're probably training too often. I would love to help you. I would just need more information. Full body splits for a novice beginner that only have 2 per week, that only has 2 times per week to train. Can you do a full body work 2 times a week? Yes. John Christie trained thousands of people on only twice a week. anything is possible if the volume, you have to look at things over the course of a week. Is the week volume reasonable? You have to go a little bit on the light side for the daily volume and weekly volume, but it is possible. So yes, it is possible. I've put together 2x a week 2x a week workouts. Again, you'll be a little light on the volume side, but if you push the most out of that, you'll get some results.
Yep.
So yes. All right, guys, we are out of here. Almost 3 hours. That's a new record, Robert, and I appreciate you holding in. We probably both have full bladders, and we never reached 100 viewers. Take your shirt off. So
thank goodness. I didn't even finish my my coffee. I've still got another cup's worth of delicious French press coffee here too.
Guys, I don't always ask a lot, but I want you to go over to superlivingtoday.com right now and order Massive Creatine Plus. If you use Creatine, please consider using our brand. It's our passion project, and we only have 200 units. We're about a third of the way of selling out. And by supporting us, it's going to allow us products that are better than what you're using, or hopefully better than what you're using. So please consider supporting us. Go over to superlivingtoday.com and Massive Creatine Plus. We're not putting this money into our pockets right now. We're putting this money into new products. And that's what we're doing. What are you doing this weekend? Anything fun, exciting?
Pretty typical weekend for us. So Sandy's been doing her PhD classes. So Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, she is like in full homework mode, studying for tests, midterms, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm on toddler duty. We're reading through the omnibus of the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 right now. We're doing that. We finished the Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet series. So we're reading that, her and I. Go on a walk in the morning. I've got my upper body workout tomorrow. Then Sunday is my favorite day of the week because that's my heavy leg day. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be going out to Iron Wolf after the halfling takes a nap. I've also got the Final Scoop live podcast tomorrow. Everybody can tune into the Supplement Engineer YouTube channel at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern for the Final Scoop. That afternoon, we'll do Iron Wolf Distillery, and then I will be back to watch the big UFC card. There's a bunch of title fights tomorrow night. It's one of the best cards they've had in some time, so I'm super excited to watch the UFC fights tomorrow night. And then Sunday's more of the same. Hang out with the halfling in the morning, do lunch, work a bit. I've got some other tasks and chores that I need to do from a content writing side and whatnot, in addition to the projects you and I have going on, Steve. So lots and lots of good stuff. Pretty typical weekend, but I love it. There's a reason it's the normal. Is that because I like our routine, and I like we've set it up in a way that we enjoy what we do.
I tuned into your podcast last week, and sometimes I get through with YouTube is really funny. It won't let me through on any of my accounts. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It wouldn't let me through on any account last week. I literally have two windows open, one in Opera and one in Chrome, and I'm firing up YouTube in different accounts, trying to say hello, and none of them go through. So it's really strange.
That is strange.
All right, I'm doing jack shit this weekend other than running and doing client work. So that's it.
Outstanding.
I got client phone calls tonight. 2 new clients hopping on board. And that's it. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Robert, thanks for hanging in, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Bye.